Chapter 3297. Swoosh. They knew that they had to get rid of the enemy in front of them first. Otherwise, they would be in great danger if they were ambushed at any time. The power of the 6 half-saints made everyone tremble, and their scalps tingle. However, Lin Xian was not afraid at all. Not to mention, they were merely 6 half-saints. A cold light appeared in his eyes, and the law of water surged out, turning into a supreme wave that rushed forward. Did he scatter the 6 half-saints in an instant? Oh no, what a terrifying law of water. They were surprised. They did not expect the other party to be so terrifying that their formation was scattered in an instant. At that moment, the dark red dragon rushed up, opened its mouth, and spat out thunder that filled the sky, instantly enveloping the 3 of them. The other 3 were once again targeted by Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the law of water this time, and the endless blue fragments condensed together, condensing into a figure in the endless waves. The figure was very hazy, but the aura was incomparably terrifying. As soon as it appeared, it was like a god that suppressed the surroundings. The 3 half-saints trembled, and they could not move at all. Buzz. At that moment, a bell appeared between the eyebrows of one of them. It shook quickly, and the sound of the bell woke them up. In the next moment, they bit the tip of their tongues to maintain their consciousness and roared crazily. Attack. Don't be surrounded by him. The 3 of them attacked, and terrifying supernatural powers surged, but they were completely engulfed in front of the sea. The sea seemed to be endless, and it swallowed everything. There was no energy transmitted to Lin Xian at all. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He stretched out his hands and clenched them hard. The binding of the sea. Suddenly, the sea in front of him surged, and an invisible pressure crushed the bodies of the 2 half-saints, turning them into a bloody mist. The 3 screams were heard, and then they were extremely miserable and restored to their original state. However, they were trapped by the monstrous sea water. Who else is there? Call them out. Lin Xian said coldly. Yin He's scalp went numb. Who else did he have? He had brought 10 half-saints with him this time. How powerful was their lineup? They even dared to challenge the saints. But now they were easily suppressed by someone else. A kind of fear rose in his heart. He was now very regretful. Why did he provoke this demon? At the same time, he was extremely shocked. Who was the other party? Why was the other party so powerful? This was already beyond the capabilities of ordinary half-saints. In fact, not even the strongest half-saints were capable of such a feat. Could it be that he was a saint? He thought of a possibility, but he quickly shook his head. That was impossible. The other party had clearly used a law fragment and not a true law. This meant that the other party was not a true saint. The others were also discussing spiritedly. The scene before them had happened too quickly. Lin Xian was able to suppress more than 1 half-saint with just a lift of his hand. Now the other party had injured 1 of them, suppressed 6 of them, and the other 3 had been suppressed by their companions. This method was heaven-defying. Previously, they had thought that Lin Xian and the others were doomed. But now, it seemed to them that Yin He had kicked an iron plate. If no one comes to help you, then I'll send you to hell. A cold killing intent appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. To be honest, he didn't want to cause any trouble on planet Suzaku just yet. However, he wanted to keep a low profile, but someone just had to send himself to death. He had spared the other party's life, but the other party had brought 10 half-saints to kill him. If he had been a bit weaker, he would have been killed and would have suffered a fate worse than death. How could he let the other party go? There was no one around Yin He anymore. When he saw Lin Xian walk over, he screamed like a madman. His gaze swept the surroundings as his voice rang out. Who will help me? Help me kill him. I'll ask my uncle to accept him as a disciple. Many people were shocked when they heard this. Yin He's uncle was a saint. If one was accepted as a disciple by a saint, then one's comprehension of heaven and earth would increase by leaps and bounds. To be honest, many people were tempted, but when they saw the 6 half-saints being suppressed, their hearts turned cold. No one stepped forward. Instead, they took a few steps back. Seeing this, Yin He's heart sank a bit. At the same time, he screamed again, "Don't kill him, save me. If you can save my life, then you will be my Yin family's benefactor. My Yin family will definitely treat you well." I promise that my Yin family will give you a true sacred artifact. What? A true sacred artifact? Everyone's pupils shrank. Those experts also sucked in a breath of cold air. To be honest, a sacred artifact was an extremely terrifying existence, far surpassing a half-saint artifact. In fact, not every saint had a sacred artifact, because the materials used to make a sacred artifact were too precious. They were very difficult to find, and it was not easy to refine a sacred artifact. If a sacred artifact was obtained, the strength of a saint would increase exponentially, even for half-saints like them. There were also great benefits. Their combat strength would also increase greatly. Therefore, many people were tempted, but still no one dared to make a move. However, with such a great reward, someone still stepped forward. Is what you said true? At this moment, a voice sounded. Yinhe was overjoyed when he heard this. It's true, I swear on my life. As long as you save me, my Yin family will definitely give you a sacred artifact. If I violate it, I will be struck by lightning. All right, I can save your life. A figure walked out of the cave. It was a man dressed in white. He held a folding fan and looked like a middle-aged scholar. He was very polite. As soon as he appeared, he moved as fast as lightning and instantly appeared in front of Yinhe. It'll save his life. What? Did someone really make a move? Who was this person? How dare he be so arrogant? Did he think that he was more terrifying than 6 half-saints joining forces? Discussions sounded one after another. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Save him? Do you know what the consequences of going against me are? Isn't it just being suppressed? The middle-aged man sneered. However, Lin Xian shook his head. You're wrong. The consequences of going against me is death. When he said that, a hint of killing intent burst out from his eyes. The 9 heavens and 10 lands were trembling. Everyone held their breaths. And Yinhe was so scared that he almost wet his pants. The middle-aged scholar's pupils constricted, but soon his face darkened. This kid is too arrogant. I know you're very strong and can suppress many half-saints, but there's a big difference between suppressing a half-saint and killing a half-saint. Moreover, I'm not an ordinary half-saint. Is that so? I'd like to see what ability you have to protect him in front of me. Lin Xian took a step forward, and a terrifying aura surged forward. Endless seawater appeared around them, covering the sky and the earth, completely enveloping the middle-aged scholar and Yinhe. The terrifying waves turned into countless blue sword shadows. Chapter 3298. Save me. Yinhe tried his best to resist, but he was no match for Lin Xian. Soon, the laws that he cast were pierced. At that moment, the middle-aged scholar came alive. He shouted coldly, closed the folding fan in his hand, and waved his left hand in the air. Suddenly, a chessboard appeared in his hand. It was a chessboard with black and white chess pieces that shone with a demonic light. What's that? Is it a game of chess? Many people discussed, but some of them were shocked and screamed. It's the heaven-crippling chessboard game. It's the heaven-crippling chessboard game. What's the heaven-crippling chessboard game? Many people became even more puzzled. However, the faces of some of the older generation experts turned extremely ugly. The heaven-crippling chessboard game was passed down from ancient times. It was an extremely terrifying array formation that was created by a sage. The array formation was extremely terrifying and mysterious. According to ancient legends, 2 powerful sages were playing chess when they suddenly came up with an idea and used chess pieces to form an array formation. The 2 of them used chess pieces as an array formation and fought for 800 years, but in the end, they were evenly matched. They left, but the chessboard that they played on turned into a peerless killing array. After countless powerhouses studied it, they named the chessboard Heaven-Crippling Chessboard Game. Since then, the array formation had been passed down. I can't believe there's such a thing. Many people gasped when they heard that. Is it a sage's array formation? No wonder the middle-aged scholar dares to stand up for me. Kid, be careful. I've heard of this array formation before. It's not simple. I didn't expect to see it with my own eyes. The dark red divine dragon transmitted his voice. Lin Xian nodded. It was all right. If a true saint were to perform the heaven-crippled chessboard game, It might be troublesome. But what about the other party? He didn't care. Well, you'll see how terrifying the legendary heaven-crippling chessboard game is. Lin Xian stretched out his palm and formed 5 mountains. Each of his 5 fingers was extremely heavy, crushing everything in front of him. The middle-aged scholar snorted coldly, and the chessboard in his hand kept expanding until it shrouded the world. In the next moment, Lin Xian and Yun He were all shrouded. Among them, Yun He was surrounded by 4 chess pieces. They transformed into terrifying black and white qi, forming a powerful defense that enveloped him. The middle-aged scholar floated in the void, controlling the entire chessboard. Lin Xian, on the other hand, came to the chessboard. There were black and white flags around him, flickering with terrifying light. The aura circulating on it was extremely dreadful. A semi-sage expert might die here if they weren't careful. Wang. A black ghost stone charged at him. It was like a black sun, trying to crush him completely. Lin Xian coldly snorted. He clenched his hand into a fist, which was covered in flames. He punched out, and it was as if he had turned into a golden crow. It burned fiercely and shattered the black go piece. The black chess piece was shattered into pieces. However, they soon fused into the formation. At this moment, 2 more white go stones shot over. They circled around each other like a pair of dragon scissors, wanting to cut Lin Xian in half. Get lost. Lin Xian swept out with his right leg like a coiling dragon. He flew out with terrifying laws of earth. With one kick he shattered the 2 white go stones. The 2 white go stones turned into white mist and disappeared again. However, Lin Xian sensed that the formation's power did not weaken. It looked like his attack was ineffective. You have some strength. However, you don't understand the genius chessboard at all. Now we'll show you how terrifying the heaven-crippling chessboard is. Floating in the air, the middle-aged scholar sneered. He waved his hand, and a sharp light burst out from his eyes. Immediately, the 13 black and white go stones around Lin Xian spun quickly, turning into a huge dragon that covered the entire area. The 13 black and white go stones surged around continuously, forming a peerless killing intent. How terrifying! Outside the formation, the expressions of those people changed as they retreated frantically. The dark red dragon frowned as well. What a strange formation! It circled the formation and kept moving around, looking for a flaw in it. That way, it could immediately make a move to break the formation when it was in danger. The heaven-crippling chessboard? Not bad. Unfortunately, you're too weak. A cold voice came from within the formation. In the next moment, a sharp sword light lit up in the air. The 9 heavens and 10 earths were trembling. Wherever this sword passed, everything was destroyed. That was the power of the law of annihilation. After the sword slashed out, a huge black hole appeared in the heaven-crippling chessboard. What? How is this possible? The middle-aged scholar was stunned. He did not expect his opponent to break his heaven-crippling chessboard with such a forceful method. That was simply unbelievable. The surrounding people were even more stunned. Damn it! I don't believe it! The middle-aged scholar gritted his teeth and roared. A look of madness appeared in his eyes. The area around him turned into nothingness. With a wave of his finger, the heaven-crippling chessboard exploded again. This time, it was not just 13 lights. Instead, there were hundreds and thousands of lights. The black and white go stones in the entire heaven-crippling chessboard shook violently. A terrifying and destructive force burst out, wanting to destroy everything. The surrounding cultivators' expressions changed. Damn it! This person is crazy. He wants to destroy everything. Run quickly. They ran away in a frenzy. Oh no! The dark red divine dragon's expression changed. Lin Xian's expression darkened as well. He was also an expert in formations. Naturally, he knew what the other party was trying to do. The other party wanted to use the formation to destroy everything, including Yun He. The middle-aged scholar was probably the only one who could survive. Is he trying to kill me? If that's the case, don't blame me. He sensed that there was a burst of cold light. He activated his heavenly secret divine eyes. At the same time, a sharp sword light circled around his hand. The law of fire surged out. The flaming sword chi broke through everything. Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast. In an instant he destroyed the surrounding aura and slashed the middle-aged scholar's body apart. Ah! The middle-aged scholar screamed like a madman. His opponent's strength had increased again. Damn it! Did he not use his full strength earlier? His opponent's casual attack had broken his heaven-crippling chessboard. Thinking of that, the middle-aged man screamed and turned to run. Do you think you can run? Lin Xian's eyes were cold and merciless. Since the other party wanted to kill him with such a powerful move, how could he show mercy? He clasped his hand and grabbed the other party's head. He activated his eye technique and immediately searched his soul. Soon, the soul search was completed. Lin Xian waved his hand and destroyed the other party's soul. After taking the other party's storage ring, Lin Xian turned to stare at Yin He. At that moment, the heaven-crippling chessboard was shaking violently. However, it dissipated before it exploded. Buzz. Clang. A chessboard fell from the sky with a clang. The dark red divine dragon grabbed it and put it away. Everyone's attention was attracted by the heaven-crippling chessboard. That was a treasure. However, it seemed that the other party had taken it away. However, at that moment, their gazes turned again. That was because Yin He was screaming miserably. Chapter 3299. Yin He's miserable cries made one's scalp tingle. You dare to kill me? I'm from the Yin family. If you kill me, my brother and uncle won't let you go. He screamed like a madman. Really? Lin Xian sneered and waved his hand. The 10,000 sword chi became even crazier. Stop. Please spare me. I was wrong. I apologize to you. I'll kowtow to you as long as you let me go. Yin He was rolling in the sky. The pain made him hover between life and death. Oh, kowtow to him as an apology. Sure. Lin Xian waved his hand. Go ahead. However, even if you kowtow to him as an apology, I'll still send you to hell. The last time he let him go, he left and brought 10 half-saints to kill him. Therefore this time, Lin Xian would definitely not let him go. Yin He was extremely regretful. Why did he provoke him? He was a person who was not afraid of the Yin family at all. He realized that he was going to die today. Thinking of this, Yin He's face became extremely desperate. However, at this moment, a cold voice resounded between heaven and earth. How dare you attack a member of the Yin family? How dare you? The voice turned into swords of sound waves and swept toward Lin Xian. The void was pierced and the entire space was trembling. Lin Xian's figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. A terrifying scene appeared in front of him. Countless translucent sword chi seemed to cut heaven and earth in half, isolating the crowd. Oh God, someone attacked again. The surrounding martial artists were extremely shocked. Previously, Lin Xian killed the middle-aged scholar and broke the heavenly chessboard game, which made them extremely terrified. Later, Lin Xian attacked and wanted to kill Yin He, which made them pee their pants. These people had not recovered from the shock, and did not expect someone else to come. Moreover, the person who came this time seemed to be even more terrifying. This sword chi, could it be that the cloud returning sword was here? What? The cloud returning sword? You mean Yin Tian? Many people were extremely shocked. Looking at this sword chi, it should be right. Moreover, from the other party's words, the other party was also a member of the Yin family. The only person in the Yin family who possessed such a biting cold sword energy was definitely Yin Tian. Thinking of this, everyone was shocked. Now that Yin Tian had come, things were probably going to change. Sure enough, Yin He was screaming like a madman in front of him. Brother, is that you? Brother, save me. Kill him. I must kill him. Tear him to shreds. Avenge me. Humph. A cold voice sounded. In the next moment, a person descended from the sky. He was wearing white clouds, his black hair fluttering in the wind. As soon as he landed, he gave off a piercing aura and looked coldly at Yin He. How dare you embarrass the Yin family like this? After you go back, you will go into seclusion for 10 years, and will not be allowed to come out. Yes. Yin He trembled in fear, but at the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief because he knew that he was saved. Now that his brother was here, no one would dare to lay a hand on him. Not even Yin Nantian could do that. The person in front was Gue Yunjian. Yin Tian's gaze shifted away from Yun He and landed in front of him, staring at Lin Xian. You actually dare to lay a hand on my Yun family? Now kneel down and accept your death. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He's too strong. Is this Gui Yinjian? Lin Xian was also sizing him up. This is his brother? He's indeed very strong. As expected of a top genius, but it's still not enough. As if seeing the contempt in Lin Xian's eyes, Yin Tian snorted coldly. Ignorant guy, you actually dare to be arrogant in front of me? Fine, I'll show you what a peerless genius is today. As soon as he finished speaking, Yin Tian's body disappeared. In the next moment he charged over with countless piercing cold sword qi. These were all white sword qi that carried the law of clouds. It was abnormally terrifying and incomparably strange. In an instant, Lin Xian was completely entangled. Cloud sword, thousand slaughter. Between heaven and earth, countless clouds descended and disappeared. These clouds were all absolute killing sword qi, completely enveloping Lin Xian. The surrounding people retreated like crazy. At the same time they cried out in surprise. He appeared. Gui Yinjian. Everyone opened their eyes wide. In their view Lin Xian was strong. But compared to Yin Tian he was probably much weaker. Perhaps he was not Yin Tian's match at all. The dark red divine dragon also retreated far away. He narrowed his eyes, a hint of a cold smile at the corners of his mouth. Kid, let these people see your true strength. Lin Xian was enveloped by the cloud sword. His eyes flickered. He also had a hint of a cold smile. Competing in sword skills? He took a deep breath. The sword qi in his body surged out. A terrifying and berserk flame sword qi gushed out from his body, sweeping out in all directions. It had the intention of sweeping the world. Boom. Boom. At this time, the cloud sword exploded with countless clouds, flickering with absolute killing intent. It collided with Lin Xian's body, emitting a shocking sound. This was an absolute kill. The front completely turned into nothingness. Hee, this kid is definitely dead. Yin He looked at this scene and sneered malevolently. The others felt their scalps go numb. Yin Tian was too strong. He used an absolute ability the moment he attacked. They reckoned that the other party might really be killed in one move. When all the clouds rose into the air and scattered, everyone widened their eyes. Even Yin Tian frowned, because he discovered that the figure in front of him was not dead. Instead, he was wrapped in a ball of fiery red sword light. How is it possible? He's not dead. Yin He screamed like crazy. Whoosh. Yin Tian attacked again. It was as if he had merged into the clouds. His figure could not be seen at all. They could only feel that the power of the cloud sword was even more terrifying. Yet another boundless cloud of swords came, intending to pierce through Lin Xian. At this time Lin Xian moved. His eyes exploded with a bright light. Extremely terrifying flame sword qi surged out from his body. Boom. The fiery red sword, with a berserk and destructive aura, ruthlessly slashed on the cloud sword. It was useless. Yin Tian sneered. My cloud is ethereal and formless. You can't destroy it. It was indeed so. The law he comprehended was the cloud. So what if it was cut apart with a sword? At most, it would turn from one cloud into two clouds. But it would not disappear. But soon he screamed. How was this possible? He discovered that his cloud sword had actually been destroyed. This made him terrified, shocked, and in disbelief. How was this possible? The other party could actually destroy his Ajian Qi. This was something that had never happened before. At this time, Lin Xian had already arrived in front of him. The two of them were less than half a meter apart. The laws on the two of them kept colliding, tearing out countless large cracks. At this time, Lin Xian's voice sounded. You actually dare to compete with me in sword technique? The flame sword in his hand exploded again. It was as if it had turned into a monstrous qilin. It roared at the sky, crushing all the clouds in the sky. Boom. Fire sword qilin. This was not a law divine ability. It was just a divine ability evolved from the great dragon sword soul. However, the power was also very terrifying. Even a top half-step saint could not block it. As expected, Yin Tian's pupils constricted. He waved his hands, forming a white cloud armor. At the same time, the white clouds in front of him drooped down like a curtain. Boom! With a shocking strike, Yin Tian was sent flying. The white clouds in front of him shattered, and the armor on his body was also torn into pieces. Chapter 3300. In the next moment, his body suddenly disappeared and reappeared in another direction, completely shaking off the flames. However, his face was completely gloomy. This scene happened very quickly. In the blink of an eye, Yin Tian was sent flying. The surrounding people cried out in alarm. Many of them were scared silly. What was going on? It seemed that Yin Tian had been beaten back? Oh heavens! Did Yin Tian suffer a loss at the opponent's hands? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they reached this conclusion. They could not imagine it. That was the cloud returning sword. Yin He's body was also trembling, and fear rose from the bottom of his heart. However, he still roared crazily. Impossible! How could my brother be defeated? My brother just didn't use his full strength. That must be it. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. You dare to use sword techniques in front of me with such little strength? To be honest, it was a little disappointing. Kid, don't be arrogant. Yin Tian snorted coldly. His expression was incomparably cold. He had never suffered a loss at the hands of a young person. This time, his target was Yin Nantian. In his opinion, with his strength he could fight Yin Nantian. However, he did not expect to meet a difficult person before the Vermilion Bird List tournament had even begun. Who was this person? Who were you? Zhao Wuliang? Long Chaotian? Or someone else? None of them. You don't deserve to know my name. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes were filled with arrogance. You're courting death. Kid, I was just testing the waters just now. Now you've made me want to kill you. The cloud returning sword was unsheathed. With a clang, the invisible cloud law circled around. In the next moment, a piercing sound rang out like thunder. A white light flashed, and a dazzling black crack appeared in front of him. Heavens, it was cut open. Unsheathing. Many powerhouses of the older generation exclaimed. This kind of sword unsheathing technique was a very common ability. It was a condensed sword intent and power that exploded in an instant. Of course, the more common the ability, the more difficult it was to cultivate it to a high level. Moreover, Yin Tian's sword unsheathing technique had surpassed ordinary. This was the cloud returning sword unsheathing technique. It was even more ethereal and strange. Clang. Lin Xian's body was struck by a white cloud longsword. In the next moment, his body was sent flying. It hit. Yin He was so excited that he was trembling. The others also gasped. Quite a few people shook their heads. The sword was drawn too quickly, and with the addition of the law of clouds, almost no one could dodge it. That brat should have been split into two halves. Let's see how arrogant he can be. How strong is cloud returning sword? Previously, he was only testing the waters. Now that he had revealed his true strength, how could that brat possibly withstand it? Yin Tian also revealed a cold smile. The light turned into a white divine lamp that looked into the distance. Soon he was stunned. How could this be? His heart was filled with astonishment, as he could not believe his eyes. From afar, a figure appeared in a flash. It was Lin Xian. Lin Xian was unscathed. He shook his body and nodded slightly. Not bad. This move is much stronger than before. Looks like you do have some talent. Lin Xian's words were like an elder commenting on a junior. This tone of voice made Yin Tian very unhappy. However, the others were already scared silly. Such a terrifying sword chi could split a half-saint city in half. But the other party was unscathed? What kind of physique was that? The other party was definitely a powerhouse. And he should be very famous. It's a pity that we can't see his true face. To be able to block the white cloud sword, his physique is definitely famous. I wonder what kind of physique it is. If not for the Nine Suns' successor perishing together with the great demon a few years ago, I would have suspected that he was the Nine Suns' successor. Impossible, the Nine Suns' successor can no longer exist in this world. He might have another physique. I've heard that the sacred physique also seems to have such a strong physique, not inferior to the Nine Suns' divine physique. Yes, there is also the supreme combat physique, which is also very strong and has astonishing combat strength. Damn brat, who the hell are you? Yin Tian shouted angrily again. Lin Xian did not answer. Instead, he clenched his fists as if he was drawing a sword. Let me show you what the true sword drawing technique is. What, this guy is also going to use the sword drawing technique? Everyone was still guessing Lin Xian's identity, but at this moment, they were attracted by Lin Xian's words. Everyone's eyes were all on Lin Xian. In the next moment, they shivered. It was too strange. The other party only made a sword drawing gesture, but their bodies actually trembled uncontrollably. A few of the older generation figures were terrified. The surrounding people were all scared out of their wits. Many half-saints swallowed their saliva frantically. This aura, could it be that the other party was a peerless swordsman? They widened their eyes. And Yin He had long collapsed to the ground in fear. Yin Tian's expression was also solemn. Not good, it's too dangerous. The other party's action made him vigilant, as if there was a fatal crisis. Who was this person? He had no time to think too much now. He could only roar angrily and use the cloud law fragment to the extreme. I want to see what's so magical about your sword drawing technique. Yin Tian gritted his teeth. He did not believe that the other party's sword technique could really defeat him. The sword drawing technique was about explosiveness, not just speed. Your speed just now was indeed very fast. After fusing with the cloud law, it was strange and ethereal. Ordinary people would not be able to dodge at all. Unfortunately, you're still wrong. The true power of the sword drawing technique was explosiveness. Now, I'll show you what the true sword drawing technique is. Lin Xian's voice sounded. Boom. In the next moment, a biting cold aura burst out. A terrifying sound rang out. There was no sword light in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. No one could see any sword light at all. However, the void in front of them was constantly being annihilated and shattered. A sword to break the 9 heavens? The surrounding people were stunned. Some of the semi-sage level experts were also trembling. Their eyes were wide open. This was the true sword drawing technique. They indeed did not feel the sword light, but the terrifying explosive force completely engulfed everything in front of them. Not good. Yin Tian's pupils shrank. He knew that he had underestimated the other party. This force was too strong and could threaten him. He wanted to escape, but he realized that it was too late. The other party's sword drawing technique was really different from his. He pursued speed to the extreme, but the other party pursued explosiveness. The other party had achieved this. The surrounding space was shattered. His violent power tore everything apart. No matter where he hid, he would still be attacked. He could only do his best to resist. Cloud Law, Cloud Body. Chapter 3301. Facing the violent power, he chose to turn his body incorporeal to avoid it. Boom. The space in front of him was completely shattered. A violent explosion sounded as if heaven and earth were being destroyed. A miserable cry came from inside. It was Yin He's. Yin He was also enveloped by this sword. Yin He couldn't dodge at all and turned into nothingness. Even his soul was swallowed by this violent power. After a long time, the shattered void in front of him gradually healed. But he had already been destroyed in body and soul, and couldn't be found at all. Everyone already knew about this. Their gazes were looking for Yin Tian. Where was Yin Tian? Why did he disappear too? Could it be that he dodged it? He even said that his body and soul were also destroyed. They gasped as they thought of a possibility. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and swept his gaze in all directions. Golden light flickered in his eyes. Soon, he stared in a direction and revealed a look of surprise. To be able to dodge it, one had to admit that he was indeed quite strong. Everyone looked in the direction Lin Xian was looking at. In the next moment, they saw a figure appear in the void. It was Yin Tian. However, the current Yin Tian was illusory, as if he had turned into a cloud. However, he was still attacked. Lin Xian's destructive power was enough to destroy everything. Even if it was a cloud, it could still injure it. Therefore, Yin Tian was severely injured. Absorbing the power of heaven and earth and evolving the power of laws, his body reappeared and his face was gloomy. If one looked carefully, they would discover that his body was still trembling slightly. He glanced at the space that had turned into nothingness. Immediately, killing intent spread out. The other party had killed Yunhe. Yunhe was his younger brother. Now that he was killed in front of everyone, Yin Tian was furious. With a long roar, heaven and earth trembled. An extremely terrifying killing intent exuded from his body. How dare you kill my younger brother? You will die without a doubt. Originally, he had prepared some ultimate moves to use against Yin Nantian at the Vermilion Bird List competition. However, since you are courting death, I will fulfill your wish now. Yin Tian soared into the sky, his voice incomparably cold. The others were shocked. What? Yin Tian was actually targeting Yin Nantian this time. Then his ultimate move must be very terrifying. Buzz. Yin Tian stood in the clouds, incomparably ethereal. He pulled out a long sword. This wasn't a sword of laws, but a true half-step saint artifact. The sword light was like water, blue, flickering with cold light. Did he use his weapon? In that case, the power of the sword chi could be increased. However, this was not the end. What shocked everyone was that after Yin Tian pulled out the blue sword, he pulled out another sword. A white sword. Dual swords. Everyone was shocked. Yin Tian was holding two swords with both hands. Both of them were half-saint weapons. His aura was also rising. The blue sky was filled with white clouds. At this moment, Yin Tian seemed to have turned into the king of the sky, looking down on all living things. After cultivating for 132 years, I finally created my own divine ability, the Boundless Sky Sword. Today, I will use you as a sacrifice to my divine sword. His cold voice rang out. When the others heard it, they were all stunned. The people of the older generation were also in disbelief. What? What did he say? He had created his own divine ability. Heavens, he actually created his own divine ability. This brat's talent was too terrifying. These people were all stunned. They knew that Yin Tian was very famous. He had traveled on the ancient path of the stars for 132 years, and was very powerful. He was probably not far from becoming a sage. But they did not expect that he could create his own divine ability now. Many people swallowed their saliva. Creating one's own divine ability was not something an ordinary sage could do. It required great talent and a heaven-defying understanding of laws to be able to create one's own divine ability. They did not expect Yin Tian to be able to create his own divine ability at such a young age. What he created was definitely a law divine ability. Its power was boundless. No one among the half-saints would be able to block it. They thought that Yin Tian had lost this battle, but they did not expect Yin Tian to have such a killer move. No wonder he dared to use such a divine ability to fight Yin Nantian. Creating his own divine ability? Lin Xian was also surprised. Then he smiled. He had also created his own divine ability. Moreover, he had created 4 great divine abilities. If he said it out loud, it would probably scare the surrounding people to death. However, it was also good. He wanted to see if the other party's self-created divine ability was stronger than his. Creating his own divine ability? I'm looking forward to it. Then show it. Lin Xian raised his head and said indifferently. You will see. Yin Tian's voice was cold. He did not speak anymore. In his hands, the 2 treasured swords overlapped and exploded with an incomparable light. 2 terrifying sword lights swept through the 9 heavens and enveloped the entire sky. Above the 9 heavens, sword chi circled around, pressing down on everyone until they could not breathe. In the next moment, a cold voice came from the sky. Heavenly boundless kill. The 2 swords formed a cross and instantly charged over. Is that all? Lin Xian looked at the figure that was charging over and frowned. The others were also puzzled, but they soon understood. They understood what the heavenly boundless kill meant. In the next moment, countless figures of Yin Tian appeared in the sky. Each of them held 2 swords in their hands and charged over quickly. Each of them was incomparably real. It was really a killing move. There was no way to escape. One could only resist it. The blue and white light flickered, and it really looked as if a part of the sky was pressing down. Moreover, this was a law divine ability. Its power was much stronger than ordinary divine abilities. It was indeed a self-created divine ability. Many people trembled. Their eyes were like rainbows as they stared straight ahead. They did not know how that kid was going to resist. Lin Xian nodded slightly. He knew that a self-created divine ability could not be so weak. Now, it was a little interesting. Take my self-created divine ability, Annihilation Fire Lotus. Lin Xian's voice was not loud, and the people around him did not hear it clearly. However, they felt it. They felt a fiery red flame fly out from the blue and white light. Then it burned fiercely. The fiery lotus rose into the air with the power to destroy everything. What divine ability was that? Many people's pupils constricted. They felt as if they were about to be swallowed by the fire lotus. The two self-created divine abilities finally collided in the air. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Terrifying energy swept through everything. At this moment, all the buildings in the city were enveloped by the array formation. It was densely packed, and some places even sank directly into the ground. As for the others, they were sent flying by a terrifying force. Many of them were sent flying millions of miles away, while coughing up blood. In front of them, it had turned into chaotic energy. The eternal light could not be seen at all. Yin Tian and Lin Xian's figures were also swallowed by this energy. It was as if endless time had passed. Everyone was far away and did not dare to come over. They were bewildered. What was going on in front? After a while, seeing the destructive energy in front of them weaken, they dared to go forward. When they flew into the city, they sucked in a breath of cold air. There were large cracks everywhere in the sky and on the ground. It was too terrifying. The remnant energy terrified them. No one dared to stop them. Soon Lin Xian and Yin Tian disappeared into the void. Then the entire city went crazy. Everyone went crazy. They quickly spread the news because they knew that a huge storm was about to arrive. Yin Tian was dead. This news quickly spread from Sunset City, and instantly spread across planet Suzaku. When the geniuses and experts in the 12 main cities heard this, they were all shocked. What? Yin Tian was dead? That was impossible. Who spread the news? At first, these people didn't believe it. However, more and more news spread. Some people even took Yin Tian's body and left planet Suzaku. When countless people saw this, Yin Tian's eyes lit up. Everyone believed that Yin Tian was really dead. Who was it? Who killed Yin Tian? Everyone crazily asked questions. Soon, they learned about what had happened in Sunset City and sucked in a breath of cold air. A mysterious person had killed Yin Tian. In the end, Yin Tian seemed to recognize the person, but aside from Yin Tian, no one else knew who it was. Investigate for me. They had to figure out who was fighting Yin Tian. They had to find out where he came from. Someone roared like crazy. This was not simple. Yin Tian was one of the most popular candidates for the Vermilion Bird ranking competition, and was favored by countless people. The other geniuses were also under a lot of pressure. However, Yin Tian had been killed. Didn't that mean that there was an even more terrifying existence? And that other person was most likely here for the Vermilion Bird ranking competition. They had to figure out who it was. At the same time, these geniuses and experts were also testing each other to see if it was someone they knew who had done it. However, they soon tested each other and found that it wasn't someone they knew who had done it. This caused their expressions to darken. It seemed that there was an extremely powerful person, and a person who had never appeared before was about to appear. Cloud returning planet, Yin family. The Yin family was an extremely large family, and was extremely terrifying. At this moment, a piece of news was sent back to the Yin family, causing them to be incomparably shocked. What? Yin Tian was dead? Yin he was also dead? What was going on? The people of the Yin family were incomparably ferocious. They had already ignored Yin he's death, but they couldn't accept Yin Tian's death. In fact, they couldn't believe it. When Yin Tian's corpse was brought back and the people of the Yin family saw it, they finally believed it. Ah! Endless roars rang out. Who was it that dared to kill their son? I am going to tear that person into pieces. Frenzied voices rang out. Countless elders roared crazily. The Yin family patriarch also had a malevolent expression. Go and invite the saint of our family back. The saint they wanted to find was Yin He and Yin Tian's uncle. He was a very young saint with great strength and talent. He was definitely the pillar of the Yin family. As for Yin Tian, he could have become such a pillar. If Yin Tian continued to grow, he would have become a saint. The Yin family would have two great pillars of support. The status of the Yin family would also rise. In fact, if these two saints were to take another step forward, the Yin family would really have reached the top. But now Yin Tian had been killed. They couldn't accept it at all. Chapter 3303. The day of the Vermilion Bird ranking competition was getting closer and closer. However, on this day, a piece of news spread like wildfire across planet Suzaku. A saint had arrived on planet Suzaku and was going to participate in the Vermilion Bird ranking competition. This news was like a clap of thunder that stunned everyone. Heavens, what did you say? A saint is going to participate? That can't be right. A saint is going to compete with us? Many people went crazy. Who is this? It has to be said that everyone participating in the Vermilion Bird ranking competition was half-sages, but there was a difference in age. Some were very young, and some were very old. However, they were all half-sages. Aside from lacking a bit in experience, they could make up for everything else. But now a saint ninja had jumped out? It couldn't be another rumor, right? Before, people said that a saint was going to participate, but it was only a rumor. No one knew which saint it was. It seemed like this time was about the same. However, some people shook their heads. No, they had already confirmed which saint it was. It was the Yin family's saint. Could the Yin family's saint be Cloud Sky Saint? That's right, it was him. The moment he said that, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, because they knew that a huge commotion had happened in the Yin family. Not long ago, two of the Yin family's geniuses were killed in Sunset City. One of them was Cloud Sword, Yin Tian. He was a top genius and one of the favorites to win the competition. Now that someone like him was killed, the Yin family would definitely not let this go. They had thought of many possibilities, but none of them had. A saint was going to participate in the competition. But why? They could have just sent a saint to kill the enemy. Why did they have to participate? No one could understand. On the other side, a tall saint descended on planet Suzaku and was invited away by countless people. The Vermilion Bird Palace sent people to receive him. They wanted to persuade him not to participate. After all, their goal this time was to help Yin Nantian gain some fame. However, Cloud Sky Saint's attitude was very firm. He looked at the Vermilion Bird Palace Master and the elders and said, "I'm participating in this competition to find the person who killed my Yin family's genius." Find the person who killed him? The Vermilion Bird Palace Master and the elders all frowned. They all frowned. The Cloud Sky Saint said coldly, "That's right. You should know that the genius of the Yin clan was killed. I heard the news and rushed over. I asked many people, but found that the murderer had disappeared. I don't know what method he used, but I can't touch him at all. Maybe he's hiding now. However, I believe that since he is so powerful and has appeared here, he should be here to participate in the Vermilion Bird tournament. Therefore, I must participate in the battle. Only in the competition could they find him and recognize him. Don't worry, as long as I kill that opponent, I'll immediately withdraw from the competition. It won't affect you guys." Hearing that, the elders' eyes flickered, but the palace master of the Vermilion Bird Palace nodded. They didn't want to offend a sage for no reason. Furthermore, since the sage had said so, it was unlikely that he would take first place on the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. That way, Yin Nantian would not be threatened. "Since you are here, stay in the Vermilion Bird Palace." The palace lord invited Cloud Sky Saint in. At the same time, he instructed the warriors under him to quickly investigate and capture the culprit. When the news spread, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard about it. It turned out that it was true that Cloud Firmament Saint was participating in the battle. However, his goal was not to win the championship. However, this still posed a certain threat to them. Moreover, with Cloud Sky Saint's participation, another group of powerhouses was preparing to participate. Originally, these people didn't want to participate, but now that a sage was participating, it piqued their curiosity. All of a sudden, the Vermilion Bird leaderboard became even more lively and the competition became even more brutal. Those prodigies who were originally confident of getting a higher ranking, they also frowned. Their expressions were solemn. Lin Xian and the Dark Red Dragon left Wuxia City and immediately changed their appearance and aura. They knew that the Yin family might send a sage over. As expected, they received news that Cloud Sky Saint was here. However, the two of them sneered. So what if a sage was here? They probably wouldn't be able to find them in a short time. When they heard that the sage was going to participate in the competition, Lin Xian frowned. "Kid, be careful," the Dark Red Dragon reminded him. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "It's fine, I also want to fight with the sage." A fiery light burst out of his eyes. With his current strength, he was not weaker than a sage. However, he didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. The two of them didn't move again. Instead, they found a place. They temporarily lived in seclusion. Among them, Lin Xian had to adjust to his peak state, while the Dark Red Dragon wanted to study the heaven-crippling chessboard game. The middle-aged scholar was killed, and the heaven-crippling chessboard game fell to the ground and was put away by the Dark Red Dragon. In the end, Lin Xian searched his soul and directly obtained some information about the heaven-crippling chessboard game. The storage ring of the Lord was also taken away and given to the Dark Red Dragon. The heaven-crippling chessboard game was a very terrifying array formation with infinite power. Only Lin Xian could use his strength to break it. It would probably be difficult for the others to escape. They might even be killed in the array formation if they didn't do well. It could be said that the array formation was very terrifying. The Dark Red Dragon was skilled in array formations. If he could comprehend and control the heaven-crippling chessboard game, his strength would increase again. Perhaps by then he could use the game to trap a sage. Originally, the Dark Red Dragon also wanted to participate in the battle, but with the heaven-crippling chessboard game, he changed his mind. He wanted to study the array formation, so he didn't plan to participate. Another reason was that if he was outside, Lin Xian would participate. The two of them could take care of each other and deal with unexpected situations. 10 days before the Vermilion Bird tournament, a piece of news came from the Vermilion Bird Palace. It was the rules of the Vermilion Bird tournament. There were also corresponding rewards. Lin Xian went to the surrounding cities and also received the news. He didn't think much of it, but the others were in an uproar. That was because in their opinion, it should be a simple battle with simple rules. All they needed to do was to determine the winner. However, the situation was beyond their expectations. There were 3 stages. Why were there so many? Those prodigies frowned. They read the rules carefully and soon understood. There were too many people participating in the tournament, so much so that if it was a normal tournament, it would probably take a long time to finish. Therefore, the Vermilion Bird Palace wanted to arrange an elimination round to eliminate most of the top prodigies and retain the top prodigies. Chapter 3304. Lin Xian also received the news. He found that the first part was similar to a trial in a mystic realm. It would probably eliminate most people. The second part was no longer about elimination. Instead, it was about ranking and ascending the Vermilion Bird platform. The Vermilion Bird ranking was a temporary ranking. The third part was the challenge. The most intense battles. Because the third part was the final ranking. It was the final result of the Vermilion Bird proclamation. And this result would affect the rewards. Lin Xian didn't look at anything else. He directly looked at the reward for first place on the Vermilion Bird proclamation. Soon, he found that there was indeed an Earth Dao stone among the treasures. The corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. He had to get first place. Aside from the Earth Dao stone, there were many other treasures and pills. However, Lin Xian didn't care about them. He could get all these resources. However, there was one thing that caught his attention. First place, including the top 5, had a spot to enter the Void Sea. A spot to enter the Void Sea? Lin Xian was shocked. Wasn't the final mission given to him by the Langya planet to go to the Void Sea to get a treasure? It seemed that the Void Sea was not simple. It should be a treasure trove. Thinking about this, Lin Xian took a deep breath. He didn't care about this for now. The most important thing now was to enter the Vermilion Bird Proclamation and get first place. He had to get the Earth Dao Stone first. As long as he got first place, not only would he get the Earth Dao Stone, but he would also get a Metal Dao Stone as a reward from the Langya planet. As for the Water Dao Stone, it was said that it was also in the Void Sea. In order to get the 5 Elemental Dao Stone, he wouldn't go easy this time. Time quickly passed. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. There were only 3 days left. All the participating geniuses moved out, because they were going to participate in the first trial, which was the elimination round. The first trial was located in a very famous place on the planet of Suzaku, the Demon Cultivation Valley. It was said that this place was a battlefield in ancient times. Countless powerful cultivators fought there. Some people said that this was a place filled with ancient ruins. There were countless powerful cultivators' caves and treasures buried there. However, it was very dangerous. Those who entered for the treasures were all buried inside, never to come out again. In short, this was a very dangerous place. The first stage of the competition was actually here. It was truly shocking. For a moment, many people hesitated. They had also heard of how terrifying the Devil Cultivation Valley was. Originally, they were just participating in the battle. Even if they failed and were eliminated, it wouldn't be a big deal. But now failure could mean death. Was it worth it for a mere Vermilion Bird Proclamation ranking? However, it didn't take long for most of them to grit their teeth, and a wisp of madness appeared in their eyes. Because they felt it was worth it. That was because the Vermilion Bird leaderboard this time had attracted the attention of countless people. If one was able to win here, then there would definitely be enormous benefits. Therefore, no matter how dangerous the Devil Cultivation Valley was, he still had to give it a try. Moreover, these people were all geniuses and had boundless confidence in themselves. Moreover, some people had already started to form alliances. Those who knew each other and were familiar with each other had started to form alliances. They were prepared to join forces to fight against others after entering. After all, the first round was an elimination round. Most of the people would probably be eliminated. In that case, if he joined forces with people he knew, he would be able to eliminate others and protect himself. Therefore, such a group alliance was quickly formed among the many contestants. Lin Xian didn't form an alliance with anyone. Originally, he could have formed an alliance with the Dark Red Dragon, but now that the Dark Red Dragon wasn't participating, he would participate alone. However, so what if he didn't form an alliance? When he arrived at the Devil Cultivation Valley, there was only 1 day left until the day of the competition. Lin Xian arrived at the edge of the valley. He looked into the distance and revealed a shocked expression. Originally, he thought that this valley wouldn't be very big, but now it seemed that although it was called a valley, it was a bit too big. He couldn't even see the end of it. It stretched for millions of kilometers. This valley was definitely incomparably large. And below it was actually red. Red soil, red mountains, and even the trees were red, bringing with them a scorching hot aura. Planet Suzaku was originally a planet that leaned toward the fire element. There were fire element veins everywhere here, so the amount of fire element energy was very abundant. However, the Devil Cultivation Valley was a bit different. Aside from the scorching red energy, there was also a strange cold aura that seemed to be able to devour people. Night fell and quickly passed. The sky gradually brightened, and at the same time, countless figures arrived. Among them, there were a few that were very eye-catching. Because these people flew very fast, one of them was very handsome. He had a slender figure, and wore a purple robe. He gave off the aura of a ruler. The moment he appeared, he attracted the attention of countless people. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. Suddenly they exclaimed, "Yanantian! He's here!" Countless exclamations sounded. Many of them were seeing Yanantian for the first time. They were shocked. Is this the successor of the emperor? His aura is indeed very strong. Yes, I actually feel that it's unfathomable. Even some experts who had been famous for a long time had their eyes flickering. However, a few cold snorts came from the countless participants. It was obvious that some people were very unhappy with Yan Nanshan's appearance. One of them was tall and had scales on his body. No one dared to go near where he was. In fact, the aura coming from his body was so oppressive that it made it difficult for everyone to breathe. It's him. Long Zhaotian. What? He's Long Zhaotian? At first, the surrounding people were surprised. Who could be so terrifying? And from the looks of it, he wasn't from the human race. Now they finally knew that it was Long Zhaotian. It seemed that he was from the dragons. Was he a genius of the dragons? He probably wasn't any weaker than the successor of the emperor. Long Zhaotian's eyes were like rainbows as he stared at Yin Nantian in the sky. At the same time, on the other side, another figure arrived. It was a figure that was emitting a white light. It was like a celestial spirit had descended. His eyes were even more strange. They formed a strange saber-shaped pattern that made people feel as if they were pierced by it. It's him. Zhao Wuliang, Heavenly Blade God Eyes. What a terrifying eye technique. Both Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuliang were the favorites to win the championship. As soon as they appeared, their auras emerged and clashed in the sky, tearing countless large cracks. However, it wasn't over yet. Those ranked at the top of the Abyss leaderboard had all arrived. In addition to Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuliang, there was also a beautiful woman who stepped on the air. Chapter 3305. Yin Nantian also narrowed his eyes. Lin Xian was even more shocked. Yin Ruyu. This beautiful woman came from the same world as him. Yin Ruyu, a genius of the Demon King Palace, is almost equal to not only that, but she was also Lin Xian's old friend. Lin Xian did not expect to meet Yin Ruyu here. He wondered how Qiu and Qingcheng were doing. Were they here for the competition? However, after looking around, he shook his head slightly. It seemed that the two of them were not in this star field. Yin Ruyu's arrival attracted the attention of countless people. Her beautiful face made everyone gasp in amazement. However, Yin Nantian and the others had serious expressions on their faces. They knew that not only was this woman beautiful, but her strength was also extremely frightening. Her ranking on the Abyss leaderboard was even higher than Zhao Wuliang's. Yin Ruyu's beautiful face looked around. Soon she was shocked. Then, she turned her head and looked at a figure in the crowd below. However, when she saw that figure, she frowned. She realized that she could not see him clearly. At this moment, Lin Xian did not use the light that he had used to cover his face. However, the others could not see him clearly either. Because he had used the power of annihilation, all the gazes in front of him would be dissipated. You're here too. Another voice sounded. Then another tall and slender man descended. As soon as he appeared, everyone felt that the surrounding trees were growing crazily, as if they were going to break through the clouds. Who was this person? They were shocked. They did not expect this person to cause such a phenomenon. It was him. The Northern Beast, the body of 10,000 beasts. In terms of combat strength, he might not be the best, but his life force and recovery ability were definitely strong. He even needed Yin Nantian and the others. Many people exclaimed and looked at the figure in the sky. The Northern Beast was also ranked in the top 10 on the Abyss leaderboard. Moreover, his body of 10,000 beasts was also shocking. Long time no see. Yin Ryu greeted the Northern Beast. The Northern Beast nodded back. This scene shocked everyone. Could it be that the two of them knew each other? However, soon, they were even more shocked. This was because Yin Nantian looked at the two of them with a smile on his face. The two of you, long time no see. I did not expect to meet you here after being in the same world. What? Everyone's scalps were about to explode because Yin Nantian's words were too shocking. Yin Nantian, the Northern Demon, and Yin Ryu were all in the same world? This was too inconceivable. To think that there would be 3 peak-level geniuses in a single world. Furthermore, they were walking together on the ancient path of stars. It was truly shocking. It should be known that the 3 of them were not ordinary sky prides. They were extremely dazzling sky prides on the Abyss leaderboard. For example, Long Chaotian, Zhao Wuliang, and the other top geniuses all came from different worlds. Therefore, this news was truly shocking. Even Long Zhaotian was extremely surprised. That's right, 2 of the 5 heroes of the world back then had actually appeared. I wonder if that fellow is here? Yin Ryu whispered softly. Her gaze even drifted in a certain direction. She stared at a figure, but she quickly retracted her gaze. This made everyone shocked. It seemed like they really did come from the same world. However, what they were more curious about was who was the guy that Yin Ryu spoke of. Hearing that, the northern demon's gaze turned serious, while Yin Nantian sneered. He wouldn't have been able to come if he didn't have a chance. Don't you know the news from before? He and the great demon had already died in the galaxy. If they wanted to appear again, they would probably have to wait until their next lives. What? This news made Yin Ryu abnormally shocked. That person had perished together? But how was that possible? Who was that person below? She had been in seclusion previously, and did not know what had happened in the outside world. Moreover, when she arrived, she realized that other than Yin Nantian and the northern demon, there was another person that she knew. Moreover, the two of them had an extraordinary relationship. However, that person had concealed his identity. But now, Yin Nantian was telling her that that person had perished together with the great demon. Could it be that the person below was not someone she knew? But that shouldn't be the case. She was certain that she was not wrong. Moreover, the reaction of a mysterious object in her body also told her that she was definitely not wrong. It seemed that he had deceived everyone. Yin Ryu understood in an instant, but she still didn't say anything, showing a sorrowful look. However, when the others heard that, they were stunned. What was going on? Perishing together with the great demon? Who was it? Could it be the successor of the 9 sons? They instantly understood who Yin Nantian was talking about. Heavens! The successor of the 9 sons. They actually knew the successor of the 9 sons. And from the looks of it, they were extremely familiar with him. Could it be that the successor of the 9 sons came from the same world as them? Thinking of that, everyone's scalps were about to explode. What kind of world was Heavens? How could it give birth to so many top prodigies? Could it be the legendary and incomparably terrifying Big Dipper? They did not know because no one had mentioned it before. If they wanted to find out, they would have to spend some effort. But now they could not care less. There were still some people watching the battle outside. Among them, the dark red dragon crossed his arms and sneered. At that moment, he was still in the appearance of a handsome man. However, his face was different from before. At that moment, when he heard Yin Nantian's words, he immediately sneered. I'm looking forward to seeing your expressions when you see that kid. Boom. Just as everyone was discussing in surprise, a terrifying power came from the sky. Everyone's hearts trembled, and many people knelt on the ground. They were all terrified and did not speak. In the sky, the laws descended. They widened their eyes. The sage was here. Needless to say, it must be the Cloud Sky Sage. Indeed, only the Cloud Sky Sage was participating in the battle. They did not know if there were others in secret. The laws definitely showed that the other party was here. The Cloud Sky Sage was a tall middle-aged man. As soon as he descended, he brought with him a powerful law power that suppressed the world. He was like a supreme god. Even Yin Nantian, the North Demon, and the others were on guard. The Cloud Sky Sage's eyes flickered as he swept his gaze in all directions. It was obvious that he was looking for the culprit. Everyone who was swept by his gaze trembled, and their faces were filled with fear. However, they soon heaved a sigh of relief because the gaze swept past them. However, it was fixed in an area. When it swept past Lin Xian's aura changed completely. He even used the power of the law of annihilation to resist it. Therefore, Lin Xian had deceived the Cloud Sky Sage. However, as a sage, the Cloud Sky Sage was very powerful and naturally sensitive. Even if he could not confirm Lin Xian's identity, he had locked onto an area. Chapter 3306. What's going on? The elders of the Vermilion Bird Palace followed Cloud Firmament Saint. When they saw Cloud Firmament Saint's actions, they were also confused. Could it be that he had found the culprit? Cloud Firmament Saint sneered. I can already feel his presence. Although I can't be sure, I know that he's among these people. Cloud Firmament Saint had locked onto 200 people. Although it was a lot of people, it was nothing to Cloud Firmament Saint. However, he didn't move. It seemed that he was planning to enter the Devil Cultivation Valley before making his move. It was easy to imagine that these 200 people would end up in a miserable state. After Cloud Firmament Saint, many more people appeared. These people's auras were also very powerful, but their faces were unfamiliar. They didn't know who they were, but without exception, they were all experts. Apart from them, Lu Mu and the others had also arrived. It could be said that geniuses and experts had gathered. At this moment, the two elders of the Vermilion Bird Palace stood up and said, "I now announce that the first round of the Vermilion Bird rankings has begun. You have 1 month. You only need to survive for 1 month in the Devil Cultivation Valley. After a month, those who come out will be considered to have passed. Of course, I would like to remind everyone that this battle is very cruel and killing is not prohibited. Furthermore, the Devil Cultivation Valley is also a place of great danger. If you want to leave now, you can leave immediately. Of course, those who come out halfway will also be considered eliminated. Now, I will use the array to teleport you to every corner of the Devil Cultivation Valley. Take care of yourselves from now on." The two elders waved their hands, and the mountains and rivers below formed a terrifying formation that enveloped everyone. In the next moment, everyone disappeared. At the same time, a loud voice came from the elder's mouth. The first round had begun. The Devil Cultivation Valley was incomparably gloomy. The red ground emitted a scorching aura. But at the same time, there was also a gloomy aura. With a flash of light, all the people participating in the competition were sent to the valley. However, very few people were able to be sent together because the valley was too big. Yen Nantian took a step and left the place where he was originally standing. The ground split open and a terrifying vine swept towards him. However, it couldn't threaten him at all. After Yen Nantian dodged it, his eyes flickered and a smile appeared on his face. "A bunch of ignorant ants. This time, they are all my stepping stones." These people probably didn't know how terrifying the Devil Cultivation Valley was, but by the time they reacted, it would already be too late. He muttered to himself as a cold light flashed in his eyes. "However, I've already been here once, so I'm more familiar with this place." He waved his hand, and a map appeared amidst the light. There were many dots of light on the map. Clearly, they were very important places. "It seems that I'm closer to this place." Yen Nantian first confirmed his location, and then looked at the map. A smile appeared on his face. Since that was the case, he would first obtain the law and then proceed to the next step. With a flicker of his feet, he quickly left into the distance. There was a slight fluctuation in the air, but it soon calmed down. No one knew that Yen Nantian had already been there. This Vermilion Bird Palace indeed started to cheat for Yen Nantian. On the other side, a tall figure descended. It was Cloud Sky Saint. After he descended, he coldly snorted. However, in the next instant he frowned and revealed a puzzled expression. He swept his gaze all around as if he was searching for something. Soon he coldly snorted. "So that's how it is. This place is actually the same as the legends. However, it's not a threat to me." His figure flickered and he quickly left. At the same time, Yen Ruyu, the North Demon Lu Mu, and the others all descended and appeared in one place. Lin Xian also appeared in a dense forest. As soon as he appeared, there was a terrifying sound in front of him. Those vines were like dark clouds that pressed down with a gloomy aura. They wanted to entangle Lin Xian. Lin Xian coldly snorted and flicked his finger. A fiery red light surged forward, wanting to burn the trees. Soon he exclaimed in surprise. "What's going on?" He was stunned. Although he had shot out flames, they did not carry the aura of the law. There was no law fragment. How could this be? Lin Xian was too shocked. In the next instant, those black vines wrapped around him. They carried a terrifying poison on them, and wanted to ruthlessly stab into his heart. Lin Xian coldly snorted. The 9-yang divine body bloomed with light, and a powerful force shook the vines into pieces. Boom! He raised his fist and punched forward. The trees in front of him were blasted into pieces. Then he frowned. He tried again and found that not only was there no law fragment of fire, but there were also no other law fragments. Had all the laws that he had comprehended disappeared? What was going on? Impossible. However, he really could not use them now. Damn it, there was something wrong with this Demon Cultivation Valley. In an instant he understood that it wasn't his problem. Instead, it was this valley that had a problem. The heaven and earth here seemed to be suppressing his law fragments. At that moment, He-Tu transmitted his voice. Kid, this place seems to be different. It's a world of its own, so the laws here might be different from the great world outside. There was such a thing. Lin Xian was shocked. He-Tu continued. Indeed, a powerful saint could form a special space and plant his own law inside. In that space, the person who created the law was the ruler of heaven and earth. Based on the current situation, it was very likely that someone, or perhaps some saints, had joined forces to create this space. Therefore, the laws here were also revered by the saints who created the space. Other laws were suppressed and could not be used at all. So that's how it is. Lin Xian finally understood. He said that this space should be suppressing everyone. That saint should not be able to use it either. He-Tu said. That's right, that Cloud Sky Saint was very powerful, but he was probably only a first heaven stage saint. There were 9 heaven stage saints, and every improvement was incomparably huge. This demon cultivation valley was definitely formed by the cooperation of those powerful saints in ancient times or even more ancient times. Therefore, that Cloud Sky Saint could not break the laws here, and he would also be suppressed. That's good. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Since no one could use the law, everyone would be back to the same starting point. Next, Lin Xian began to think about other things. This was an elimination round, and the time limit was 1 month. As long as one could last for a month, they would pass. Chapter 3307. Since that was the case, from now on, he would only fight the North Demon or Yenryu if he met them. He would not let anyone else go. Buzz. Lin Xian's feet swayed. He wanted to soar into the air, but he soon realized that even his flight was restricted. He could only fly close to the ground. He could not fly more than 100 meters. Fortunately, he still had his physique. Flying at a low altitude, Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast. Along the way, he met many monsters. Most of them were extremely cold. There were also many monsters with terrifying flames. However, Lin Xian had effortlessly smashed them apart with his physical strength. Ah! At this time, a blood-curdling scream came from afar. It was very miserable. The entire forest shook as countless crows flew out of the forest and flew towards the distance. Someone was attacked. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and rushed in that direction. Soon he found that someone was killed. His body was torn into pieces. There was a terrifying power in it. The ground around him collapsed, and an endless deep hole appeared. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian was shocked. What a terrifying power. It should be a body-tempering expert. Shaking his head, he ignored it and continued on his way. During this time, he met 2 people who were easily dealt with by him. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, there were countless screams. Some people did not meet but fought a fierce battle. They were attacked by the terrifying monsters in the valley. The situation was extremely miserable. However, at that moment, Yan Nanshan's lips curled up. He looked at a quaint cave in front of him and smiled. It should be here. The cave was very strange. Half of the rock layer was black, while the other half was red. There were 2 strange powers in the cave. Yan Nantian did not hesitate and walked forward. At the same time, Lin Xian also stopped. There was also an ancient ruin in front of him. It was like a movie, with a desolate aura. It was said that this demon cultivation valley was very unusual. Some said that it was an ancient battlefield. There were also rumors that there were mysterious treasures inside. However, because it was too dangerous, ordinary people did not dare to enter. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he began his analysis. From the looks of it, there might be a battlefield inside, but there were no traces of a great battle at the moment. As for the second person to have the treasure, perhaps it was possible, but if it was, wouldn't it have been emptied long ago? One had to know. Half of their lives were able to enter this place. It should be easier for the saints on planet Suzaku to enter. Forget it for now. I'll go and take a look first. Lin Xian stepped forward, preparing to walk towards the palace in front of him. However, at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind. and 3 figures descended from the sky. If there's a palace, it must be a treasure. Ha 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 ha, we've arrived. The 3 of them laughed viciously. However, when they saw that there was a figure in front of them who was even faster than them, and was about to enter, they were instantly enraged. Damn you kids, stay here. One of them stretched out a large palm and grabbed forward. Now almost everyone knew that their laws were suppressed here. But so what? No one had any laws, so they returned to the same starting point. Therefore they didn't care. In the blink of an eye, the palm enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian turned around and threw a punch, shattering the other party's palm. The person behind let out a muffled groan and retreated 2 steps. Beside him, the other 2 were also on guard. It was an expert. With a clang, they pulled out their weapons and released their auras. At the same time, Lin Xian turned around. They couldn't see his face clearly. It was so strange. They frowned, but they soon heaved a sigh of relief, because they realized that the other party wasn't Yin Nantian and the others. As long as he wasn't at the peak of the heaven stage, they wouldn't recognize him. He should be a nobody. Although he was a little strong, the 3 of them weren't afraid of him. Get lost, kid. I'll spare your life. The person on the left shouted coldly. However, the person in the middle said that they couldn't let him go because he already knew the whereabouts of the treasure. If they let him go, he would definitely attract others, so they had to kill him to silence him. The person on the right also revealed a sinister smile. That's right, that's what I meant too. All right. The person on the left nodded. He looked at Lin Xian and sneered. Kid, blame your bad luck for seeing something you shouldn't have seen. Now go to hell. The long spear in his hand stabbed over. The long spear was like a dragon, extremely terrifying and emitting light. It was considered powerful among the half-saints, but unfortunately, the other party's target was Lin Xian. Seeing that the other party actually dared to attack, Lin Xian sneered and grabbed forward with his palm. Boom! A slap landed on the tip of the spear. Immediately, the long spear changed direction and pierced into the ground. A terrifying force was transmitted to that person's hand. That person's palm split open and blood flowed wildly. Oh no, what a powerful force. This guy is a little terrifying. Help me kill him. The person on the left roared like a madman and quickly repaired his body. Beside him, the other 2 people also charged over. One of them was a sword, while the other was a saber. Although they did not have the power of laws, they were still extremely terrifying. The biting cold sword chi and saber light slashed towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered and swept out his right leg like a coiling dragon. Boom, boom, boom. There was an earth-shattering collision, and cracks appeared on the saber and sword of the 2 people. Their expressions became extremely ugly. Then, a golden fist carrying a monstrous golden flame charged towards them. Their weapons shattered, and they vomited blood and flew backward with faces full of horror. They found that their bodies were enveloped in flames. The terrifying flames burned them miserably. The 3 of them screamed. Lin Xian, on the other hand, pretended to draw his sword and slashed forward. With a boom, the sword-drawing technique blasted the 3 of them into a bloody mist. After easily getting rid of the 3 of them, Lin Xian turned his head and looked at the palace in front of him again. In the next moment he walked in. It was very empty inside, and only the sound of his footsteps echoed. However, soon he was stunned again because he found that there was someone in front of him. In front of him, that person was originally sitting cross-legged and seemed to be cultivating. However, when he heard the footsteps, he suddenly opened his eyes. In the next moment, he turned his head, and a fiery red light appeared in his eyes, instantly igniting the entire void. Lin Xian felt a scorching heat and snorted coldly. He stomped his foot, and his body emitted light. He furrowed his brows. In front, the person who turned his head was also stunned. Indeed, there was someone. He stood up. Since you're here, die. As he spoke, he raised his finger and pointed forward. Lin Xian was also stunned because he found that the other party was wearing a red robe with 2 mysterious patterns drawn on it. It was the uniform of the Vermilion Bird Palace. The other party was from the Vermilion Bird Palace. In the next moment, he was even more shocked, because he found that the other party had pointed his finger. A vermilion bird that was surrounded by flames appeared. This did not surprise him. Chapter 3308. What was going on? Lin Xian was stunned. The next moment, he was hit by the vermilion bird and was instantly sent flying. An ant, unable to withstand a single blow. In front, the vermilion bird palace martial artist retracted his finger, then sat down again, seemingly still wanting to cultivate. However, at this moment, a voice came from outside. Damn laws, how can you cultivate laws? Nothing. Inside the palace, the vermilion bird palace martial artist stood up again, a look of thick shock appearing in his eyes. That shouldn't be. The vermilion bird finger just now had indeed hit the other party. The law of firepower on it was enough to burn the other party to death. Even if the other party was a half-sage, his body and soul would still be destroyed here. The strange thing was, the vermilion bird palace martial artist's figure flashed and instantly arrived outside the palace. The next moment, his eyes widened because he discovered that the person he had just sent flying was actually standing in front of him. His body was somewhat charred, but that blackness was fading quickly. You're not dead? He was seriously too shocked. Could it be that the other party dodged just now? This guy's speed was actually so fast? A little interesting. However, you'd better die for me. He pointed out two fingers again. This time, two vermilion birds flew over with powerful phantoms. Lin Xian took a deep breath, a piercing light bursting out of his eyes. Although he did not know why the other party would use laws, he reached out two palms and grabbed towards the left and right. It seemed like he wanted to catch the two vermilion birds. The two large golden hands kept growing larger, carrying terrifying power. In an instant, they grabbed the heads of the two vermilion birds. Then they pressed down hard on the ground. With a bang, the two vermilion birds were hit into the ground, directly piercing through the ground. Terrifying flames surged out, the blazing fire soaring into the sky. As expected, there was a problem with this law. Although this law was very strong, it was still not the same as outside. It seemed that the other party should still have his laws suppressed. It was just that for some reason, he obtained the law of fire here. Therefore, he could unleash such an attack. Lin Xian saw through it in an instant. In front, the vermilion bird palace man was stunned, his eyes wide open. What did he see? The two law attacks he unleashed were blocked by the other party barehanded. How could this be? Who was the other party? What kind of physique did he have? One had to know that he was also a genius of the Vermilion Bird Palace. He naturally knew the rules of the Devil Cultivation Valley. Therefore, the moment he arrived, he found a space and quickly comprehended the laws within. Soon, he had condensed a fragment of the Law of Fire, which made him extremely happy. He was now far ahead of the others. Even those top geniuses couldn't beat him because those people couldn't use laws, but he could. That was because the Devil Cultivation Valley was very strange. It was a unique space formed by the cooperation of many sages. It formed its own heaven and earth, as well as its own laws. Therefore, one had to cultivate here and comprehend the laws here before they could use it. Furthermore, once the laws were outside, they would disappear without a trace. Thus, it was much faster to comprehend them compared to outside. Therefore, he was able to comprehend the Law of Fire fragment in a short few days. Only the people of the Vermilion Bird Palace knew about this. The others simply didn't know. Therefore, they were able to seize the initiative. That was indeed the case. But now he found that the initiative was useless. Lin Fan was able to use his physical strength to fight against his Law of Fire fragment. Lin Xian didn't answer the other party's question. Instead, he asked, "You being able to cultivate laws should have something to do with this palace, right?" It seemed that the secret was there. What a smart brat. Since you found out, I have no choice but to kill you to silence you. The Vermilion Bird Palace genius face sank, and revealed a sinister expression. Although he didn't know what had happened, he had a huge advantage over his opponent. His Law of Fire fragment could definitely kill Lin Fan. I don't believe you can block my second attack. He crossed his arms and the Law of Fire fragment condensed, forming a Vermilion Bird mountain that pressed down. This was one of the Vermilion Bird Palace's great abilities. It had boundless strength and could crush everything. Didn't his opponent have a powerful physique? Then let's see if his opponent's physique was stronger, or if his Vermilion Bird Mountain was more terrifying. Boom! With a wave of his hand, the Vermilion Bird Mountain rose into the air. Under the influence of the law of fire fragment, it continued to expand until it filled the entire sky. Then it pressed down on Lin Xian. Lin Xian frowned. This scene was too shocking and would definitely attract the attention of others. If more experts came, it would be troublesome. He had to quickly kill his opponent and comprehend the law of fire fragment inside. Thinking of this, Lin Xian didn't hold back. He roared and raised his hands to meet the attack. With a boom, his hands blocked the Vermilion Bird Mountain. What? How is this possible? Seeing this scene, the Vermilion Bird Palace genius eyes almost popped out. Lin Fan actually blocked it. This was too unbelievable. Lin Xian was like an overlord. He raised his hands to resist the Vermilion Bird Mountain. At the same time, he roared and used his strength to split the Vermilion Bird Mountain in half. Boom! With a stomp of his foot, he turned into a ray of light and rushed forward. In an instant, he was in front of his opponent. His fist was like a dragon as it punched forward. The Vermilion Bird Palace genius was still in shock. He couldn't believe that his ultimate skill and the law of fire fragment were destroyed by someone's bare hands. Lin Fan only relied on the strength of his physical body. What kind of physique was that? Why hadn't he heard of it before? Suddenly he screamed because he felt a huge pressure pressing down on him. Countless cracks appeared on his body. In the next moment he saw a golden fist coming at him at an extremely fast speed. Not good. The Vermilion Bird Palace genius pupils shrank. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. He could only roar and use his strongest attack. Vermilion Bird Triple Strike. He extended both of his palms and waved them continuously, mobilizing all of his power. The fragment of the law of fire was pushed to the extreme by him. Lin Xian didn't hold back either. At this moment, he also used the 9-yang divine body to the extreme. The golden runes on his body moved and shone with a mysterious light. Boom! There was an earth-shattering collision. Then, the Vermilion Bird Palace genius eyes widened. His hands were smashed into a bloody mist, and his body was torn to pieces. His eyes were filled with fear. Impossible. Damn it. How was this possible? Finally, at the last moment, he saw the golden runes on his opponent's body. That was the symbol of the 9-yang divine body. Lin Fan had the 9-yang divine body. But that shouldn't be. Didn't the 9-yang divine body perish together with the great demon? Could it be that he didn't die? The Vermilion Bird Palace genius thought of a possibility and screamed like crazy. Chapter 3309. It really was the 9-yang divine body. Vermilion Bird Palace's disciple's scalp went numb, because he found out. He found out the most terrifying secret. The 9-yang divine body was not dead. If this news were to spread, who knew how big of a storm it would cause? Not good, he was in danger. Vermilion Bird Palace's disciple had to beg for mercy. Spare me. I swear on my life that I won't reveal your secret to anyone else. There's no need. Rather than believing in Vermilion Bird Palace, it's better to believe a dead person. Lin Xian's eyes exploded with a cold light. He knew that Vermilion Bird Palace had colluded with Yan Nantian. How could they let him go? Therefore he would not be lenient. A sharp sword light flashed and pierced downwards. Not good. The Vermilion Bird Palace's disciple screamed. His soul instantly left his body, abandoning this body to escape. Although his vitality would be greatly damaged, he would at least be able to keep his life. He was very decisive, so he dodged the fatal sword. His body was destroyed, and his soul flew into the distance, his eyes filled with malice. When he returned, he had to inform Vermilion Bird Palace to kill him. But in the next moment, he screamed because he found a pair of golden eyes coldly looking down at him from the sky. In the next moment, his soul was ignited. Ah! He was burned to ashes with just a scream. At this moment, Lin Xian frowned. He first picked up the disciple's storage ring. Then he formed a seal with his palm and formed a formation that enveloped the entire area. Not long after he finished doing this, he found that there was a sound of breaking through the air outside the formation. Following that, two figures wandered around nearby. What's going on? I clearly heard the sound of fighting here. Could it be that it's already over? Maybe. Let's go and eliminate the others. The two of them whispered to each other before disappearing into the void. After the two left, Lin Xian let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that these people did not discover the formation he had set up. That was for the best. Buzz. He turned around and walked towards the palace in front of him again. When they arrived again, Lin Xian carefully examined the place. Previously, he had only been curious. Now he knew that there must be something here that could allow them to quickly comprehend the laws of the Devil Cultivation Valley. There was nothing around, which made Lin Xian extremely suspicious. No, his guess shouldn't be wrong. All of a sudden, he recalled that when he had seen the other party earlier, the other party had been sitting cross-legged on the ground, and did not seem to have noticed the battle outside. Could it be that he had to adopt a certain posture? He walked forward and sat down cross-legged according to the posture of the Vermilion Bird Palace martial practitioner in his memories. The positions were exactly the same. Lin Xian was surprised to find that the scene in front of him had changed. He actually saw a statue of a saint. From the saint's statue, he could sense a rich law of fire. Indeed, it had the power of the law. Furthermore, these laws were different from those of the outside world. Lin Xian felt that he could comprehend it in a short period of time. This was simply too shocking. Indeed, the world of the Devil Cultivation Valley was different from the outside world. If he comprehended the laws here, he probably would not be able to use them outside. However, this process of comprehension could help him increase his experience. Lin Xian did not hesitate and hurriedly comprehended it. Originally, his law of fire had almost formed a real law, so it was even faster for him to comprehend it now. In just half a day, he had comprehended a law of fire fragment. Feeling the law of fire fragment at his fingertips, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He did not know if he could form a real law if he continued to comprehend it. He slashed his palm forward. Suddenly, green laws condensed and flashed, turning into a biting cold blade light that flashed out. Pung. Long Zhaotian was sent flying. His face was filled with fear. Chapter 33:10. He also realized that something was wrong. The green saber light carried a biting cold law of wind. How could the other party use law? One had to know that after entering the demonic cultivation valley, the laws were suppressed. He thought that the others should not be able to use it either. But now, the situation was beyond his expectations. The other party could use law. You're surprised, aren't you, ignorant ant? Do you really think I'm the same as you? Now go to hell for me. Countless lightning bolts surrounded Yan Nanshan's palm, forming a ball of lightning. It also carried a terrifying law of lightning. Not good. Long Zhaoshan's expression changed. He had to leave quickly because he was no match for the other party. He did not have law, so his power was much weaker than before. He had to figure out what was going on. Turning around, he tore the void and wanted to leave. You want to leave? Can you leave? Yan Nantian controlled the law of wind and quickly charged over. The lightning in his hand formed a lightning sword that pierced forward. In an instant, thousands of sword chi stabbed out. The incomparably violent power of lightning completely shattered the front. Long Zhaotian was once again affected and was sent flying. Although his physique was strong, he was still injured under the law. His scales were stained with blood. Damn it! He roared angrily and fled again. Yan Nantian chased after him. The two of them fought an earth-shattering battle that alarmed many people. What was going on? The power of law. Yan Nantian could use law. The surrounding people were all stunned. This scene was really beyond their expectations. Yan Nantian snorted coldly. The law of wind merged into the void, forming a terrifying wind blade that killed all the people around him. In an instant, more than 10 experts were killed. However, the commotion caused by this battle was too great. Moreover, there were still people around, so some people still escaped. The news spread out in an instant. Long Zhaotian also went all out. He used the power of his bloodline and finally escaped. Yan Nanshan's face was gloomy. He did not expect Long Zhaotian to escape from his hands. Moreover, what surprised him was that the news of loss spread so quickly. He snorted coldly and did not chase after him. Instead, he turned around and walked towards his third target. He wanted to collect as much law power as possible before starting to hunt others. Yan Nantian left, but the news had indeed spread. Everyone was incomparably shocked. They couldn't use Dharma laws, but Yan Nantian could. It was really surprising. It seemed that Yan Nantian either had a treasure on him that could resist the laws of the valley, or there was something in the valley that could make him use the laws. For a time, countless people were frantically searching for him. At the same time, Cloud Sky Saint also made his move. He had come to participate in the competition this time to find the murderer. Previously, he had locked onto an area where there were 200 warriors. He wanted to eliminate them one by one. After killing the person in front of him with one palm, Cloud Sky Saint started to collect the souls. He then scoffed coldly. This was the 33rd one. He said coldly. As it turned out, he had already started to take action in the past few days. In just a few days, he had actually killed 33 experts. It was truly unbelievable. It seemed that he had to speed up. Cloud Sky Saint began to use a great divine power. He continued to pursue his goal. Lin Xian walked out of the ancient palace and continued on his way. This place was very big, so it wasn't that easy to meet others. He had to search patiently. However, Lin Xian's current goal was to find the other palaces. However, he didn't find any palaces. Instead, he met two other people. The other two were from Vermilion Bird Palace. That's right, it's you. I can sense your aura from your body. You fought with people from Vermilion Bird Palace before, right? The two of them stared at Lin Xian. The person on the right said coldly, "Don't talk nonsense with him. We'll know once we capture him and collect his soul." A terrifying aura rose from their bodies. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. "You want to fight me? Great, I also want to test the power of the laws here." He waved his hand, and a ball of red runes floated out and danced in the sky. Fire Dharma. The two people from Vermilion Bird Palace narrowed their eyes. Damn it, you can actually use Dharma. They were really shocked. It seemed that the news had been exposed. You should have killed people from Vermilion Bird Palace. That's right, not only did I kill one, but I also want to kill both of you. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. What an arrogant guy. So what if you have comprehended Dharma? The two of us have also comprehended Dharma. 2 against 1. Can you beat us? The two of them laughed sinisterly. The water Dharma and earth Dharma on their bodies waved. It seemed that the most common Dharma here was also the 5 elements Dharma, and the mutated 5 elements Dharma. Stupid guy, go to hell. One of the people from Vermilion Bird Palace instantly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was still behind Suchen. He cultivated the earth Dharma and could escape through the earth. Therefore, as long as there was earth, his speed was very fast. He instantly arrived behind Lin Xian and grabbed forward with his palm. On his hand claws, there was a sinister power. At the same time, the other person also attacked. The law of water formed a monstrous sea, forming a killer whale that covered the sky and rushed over. Facing the two people's strong attacks, Lin Xian did not dodge at all. Instead, the fire Dharma in his palm became more and more resplendent. Then I'll let you see a real vermilion bird. He shouted coldly. The merciless Dharma turned into a vermilion bird and wrapped around his body. The vermilion bird roared at the sky. Its wings could move, forming a terrifying firestorm that enveloped the two people. Ah! The two people screamed like crazy. Damn it! Why is the power of the fire so terrifying? They wanted to retreat because they found that the other party was too evil. However, that vermilion bird spread its wings and flew. Its wings were like fiery red heavenly blades, instantly splitting the two people's bodies. Burn! The monstrous fire enveloped everything. The other party's soul could not escape. After getting rid of another two, Lin Xian disappeared again. Outside the demon cultivation valley, the elder frowned. He found that 2 more of the jade tokens in her hand had shattered. Damn it, what's going on? Until now, 3 Vermilion Bird Palace martial artists had already been killed. Who is it? Is someone targeting Vermilion Bird Palace? They did not know because they were already unable to stop it. After a few days, almost everyone knew about the Dharma. They also knew that there was a kind of palace in the Demon Cultivation Valley. One could comprehend the Dharma inside. Therefore, many people were frantically searching for it. Lin Xian was also searching. Furthermore, he was also looking for others. They're actually targeting me? Suddenly, Lin Xian was stunned. He saw two people rushing towards him. Could it be that they wanted to get rid of him? Chapter 33:11. Thinking of this, he sneered and decided to take the initiative to attack. With a flicker, he charged toward the force on the right. His speed was very fast. When he saw those figures, he instantly attacked. The vermilion bird palm slapped out. Monstrous flames turned into a vermilion bird and flew forward. Everything in front of him was burned. What terrifying flames! Could it be someone from Vermilion Bird Palace? A cry of surprise came from the front. In the next moment, a terrifying saber light tore through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. It slashed towards the vermilion bird. It was someone from Vermilion Bird Palace. Run! Those people were also sent flying. They hurriedly turned around and fled. Lin Xian snorted coldly and charged forward. At the same time, his eyes flickered. The flames on his body danced and enveloped all of his aura. At the same time, he transformed the flames into the form of a vermilion bird and enveloped his body. Since these people mistook him for someone from Vermilion Bird Palace, he did not explain. He would let Vermilion Bird Palace bear all of this grudge. In an instant, Lin Xian caught up to the other party. There were 5 people. When they saw that there was only one person charging over from behind, the 5 of them were stunned for a moment, then turned their heads. There was actually only one person. Don't hesitate, attack. They thought that it was a group of people from Vermilion Bird Palace. After all, forming an alliance was a very normal thing here. But now there was only one person. In that case, they would not be polite. The 5 of them attacked one after another, but very soon, they discovered that they could not beat the person in front of them. The person in front of them was too terrifying. The flames were even more terrifying. They carried the power of laws and burned everything. Immediately, the 3 of them were sent flying. 2 of them were even ignited. More than half of their bodies were burned. They had to hurry and beg for mercy. Stop, we have no enmity. No enmity. So what? In front of Vermilion Bird Palace, you can kill whoever you want. But don't worry, I'm in a good mood today, so I won't kill you. But you've already lost the qualifications to compete. Su Chen imitated Vermilion Bird Palace's tone. With a wave of his hand, he enveloped the 5 of them and threw them into the sky. With a boom, the vermilion bird enveloped the 5 of them and rushed out of the valley. No. They screamed crazily, but it was useless. Soon they fell out. The spectators outside exclaimed in surprise. Why did someone come out? In the next moment, they saw 5 figures wrapped in the flames. When the 5 figures came out, their expressions were also ugly. They had only been in there for a few days, and before they could do anything, they were thrown out. Furthermore, they were all injured. What's going on? Why did you guys come out? The elders and masters of these people all gathered around. That shouldn't be the case. With the strength of the 5 of you, you should be able to last for at least half a month. You might even succeed. When the 5 of them saw their master's elders, they hurriedly cried out in alarm. They were from the Vermilion Bird Palace. What? Vermilion Bird Palace? The masters and elders of these people sucked in a breath of cold air and fell silent. The Vermilion Bird Palace was not something they could afford to offend. However, following that, more and more people were thrown out. After these people came out, they looked in the direction of the Vermilion Bird Palace, not daring to say anything. Who threw you guys out? It was Vermilion Bird Palace. They were from the Vermilion Bird Palace. Voices rang out one after another. The spectators were in an uproar. The Vermilion Bird Palace was too domineering, directly throwing people out. Wasn't this slapping the faces of these families in public? Indeed, many people shook their heads. If they were really domineering, wouldn't it be over if they killed them in the valley? That way, no one could blame the Vermilion Bird Palace. But now the Vermilion Bird Palace did not do that. They did not kill, but they ruthlessly trampled on them. That was a resounding slap in the face. All of the families that were thrown out had unsightly expressions on their faces. Their bodies were filled with anger. The Vermilion Bird Palace elders also frowned. However, at that moment, one of them said, "Ignore them. No one dares to attack us here." However, not long after, when the two women were thrown out, it caused an uproar. They were actually two disciples of the Skychin Palace. The moment they appeared, the elders of the Skychin Palace instantly came over. What was going on? The two women also had ugly expressions. It was the Vermilion Bird Palace who did it. What? It was the Vermilion Bird Palace again. The surrounding people were stunned. The Skychin Palace people were instantly enraged. They stared at the Vermilion Bird Palace people with a cold glint in their eyes. Damn it, this grudge will be returned sooner or later. These elders brought the two women away. The Vermilion Bird Palace people also frowned. But thinking about it, it was really possible that it was their people who did it. These people were all thrown out by Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian was currently pretending to be a member of the Vermilion Bird Palace. After walking for another half a day, suddenly, a scream came from ahead, and a terrifying energy vibration. Immediately after, a figure crashed towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian's figure flashed and dodged. That figure crashed into the ground, blasting out a huge deep pit. Instantly, there was no aura. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He frowned because he saw a figure rushing over here quickly. Cloud Firmament Saint. Lin Xian was surprised and turned around to leave, because he saw 3 laws hanging on Cloud Firmament Saint. Worthy of being a saint, to actually find 3 laws in such a short time. If it was outside, Lin Xian would not be afraid of Cloud Firmament Saint. But now in this special space his laws could not be used at all. Therefore Lin Xian did not plan on getting into a conflict with the other party now. The most important thing now was still comprehending laws. Therefore his figure flashed and instantly fled far away. Want to leave? Cloud Firmament Saint laughed coldly. His large palm enveloped the entire space. Lin Xian felt a tremendous pressure, wanting to push his body away. Humph! He snorted coldly, his body trembled, and he turned around. He just did not want to fight with the other party. Did they really think that he was afraid of the other party? Fire Law formed a law sword. A sword slashed forward. This sword was incomparably terrifying. It was like a bolt of lightning, instantly shattering his palm, and arriving in front of Cloud Firmament Saint. Cloud Firmament Saint's expression changed. He extended 2 fingers. There were still 2 laws coiling around them, clamping this sword light. He was furious. There was actually someone who could threaten him. Who was it? Was it the murderer of the Yin family's prodigy? He stared at Lin Xian and realized that the flames on Lin Xian's body were monstrous. He could not see through the other party. The other party was very strange and suspicious. Cloud Firmament Saint's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. The 3 laws turned into divine chains of order and charged forward. Clattering sounds could be heard in the air. The entire world seemed to be controlled by the other party. Lin Xian was shocked and retreated. A saint was too terrifying. Although his combat strength was comparable to a saint's, he was still a saint. Some of his laws were still incomparable to a saint's. Therefore, when he saw this scene, Lin Xian quickly retreated. Chapter 33:12. Suddenly, the ground beneath Cloud Sky Saint cracked open. Endless lava gushed out like a flaming beast and enveloped him. Boom. However, he only managed to kill an afterimage. Cloud Sky Saint was still surrounded by the law of wind, which made his speed extremely fast. You still want to fight me? Go to hell, you ant. A cold voice came from behind Lin Xian. Then, a palm with thunder in the sky slammed toward Lin Xian's head. Lin Xian did not even turn his head as he punched toward the sky. With a loud boom, the 2 of them collided, and the sky collapsed. Lin Xian retreated, and so did Cloud Sky Saint. Cloud Sky Saint was surprised that Lin Xian was able to block his attack. Who was he? One had to know that he was a sage. Facing these people, he could squash them like ants. Other than Yin Nantian, and a few other top sky prides who could fight against him, the others were no match for him at all. They could not even block one attack. However, the mysterious person in front of him could fight against him. He found it hard to believe. He was powerful and mysterious. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the person in front of him might be the culprit. You were actually able to block my attack. Cloud Sky Saint was furious. He felt humiliated and provoked. Another attack came, and it was as if a thundercloud had descended. Thunder turned into a lightning chain that wrapped around his palm and fell mercilessly. Get lost. Lin Xian was also furious. He punched out, and the law of fire on his fist turned into a millstone that could destroy the world. It was another shocking attack, and the two of them retreated. Let me show you my holy realm world. Cloud Sky Saint's voice was cold. He waved his hand, and the law of fire in the sky formed a space that enveloped them. That space was too real. Thunder roared, and ice spread, forming a small world. This was a unique technique of a saint, and it was far beyond the domain of a king. Kill. In this world, Cloud Sky Saint was the ruler. With a cold shout, the thunder above his head fell. This was the thunder tribulation of this small world, and it wanted to pierce through Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared, and the flames on his body turned into a vermilion bird that roared toward the sky. At the same time, he swept his right leg out to meet the wind sword. The wind sword was too terrifying. It split the entire world in half. Lin Xian's kick, and the wind sword was sent flying. His entire leg was numb. Crack, crack, crack. At that moment, the sky full of ice, Cloud Sky Saint and Sky Saint and Sky Saint. Then, the space he was in was completely frozen. Sky Saint was frozen as well. The thunder sky and the wind sword and the wind sword. At this moment, the people in the outside world all cried out in shock. Heavens, what a terrifying attack. Did Cloud Sky Saint make a move? Most likely, those who could make the Cloud Firmament Saint take action were the few top-notch geniuses. Many people were discussing, and the Vermilion Bird Palace elders were all nervous. Could it be Yin Nantian? They did not know. Lin Xian's figure appeared in the Saint Realm's small world. He was hit by the violent power of the laws. The flames on his body were torn apart, and cracks appeared on his body. A ray of golden light shone out from the flames. Although he could not use the law of wood, his body was still extremely strong, and the longevity incantation in his body was quickly activated. The flames spread again, and the ray of golden light was enveloped. What's up with that golden body? Cloud Sky Saint frowned. Is he hiding his identity? His face darkened, and he struck again. The entire small world shook, and Lin Xian was once again in an extremely dangerous situation. Kill. Lin Xian roared, and the shadow of a giant shot up into the sky. It held a law sword in its hand, and a dragon's roar resounded. With a slash of the sword, a terrifying crack appeared in the sky above the Saint Realm's small world. It was almost split open. However, it did not split open in the end. Damn it, what's wrong with this guy? Cloud Sky Saint was completely stunned. Although he had comprehended these laws now, and they were not his original laws, the power of the Saint Realm's small world was not as strong as it was originally. But no matter what, it was still a saint's world. How could a half-saint split it open? He was completely enraged. He decided to capture Lin Xian at all costs. Lin Xian was too strange. With a cold shout, the crack in the sky healed, and the power of the Saint Realm's small world became terrifying again. However, with a loud boom, the Saint Realm's small world shook violently before being cleaved into two. A voice floated out from the crack. Go quickly. After hearing this voice, Lin Xian shot up into the sky without hesitation. Damn it! Seeing that his small world had split open again, Cloud Sky Saint was completely enraged. He reached out with his gale hand and wrapped it in all directions. However, it was pierced by someone in an instant. The only thing he saw was Lin Xian and another white-robed woman floating away. Yin Ryu? Cloud Sky Saint's face darkened, but he did not chase after them. This Yin Ryu was also very strange. She was actually able to split open his small world. She must have some secrets. After Lin Xian and the white-robed girl left, They flew for a while and landed on a mountain peak. The white-robed girl was Yen Ruyu. At this moment, she turned her head and looked at Lin Xian with a smile on her face. It's really you. I knew you wouldn't die so easily. How did you recognize me so quickly? Lin Xian smiled. Then, the flames in the sky disappeared, revealing his true appearance. What do you think? Actually, when I just arrived at the Demon Cultivation Valley, I recognized you immediately. You Lin Xian still wanted to ask. After all, he wanted to know what was going on with Yen Ruyu. Why did she change her name? Yen Ruyu stretched out a jade-like finger and touched Lin Xian's mouth. Then she shook her head slightly. Don't ask anymore. You just need to know that I'm still me. I won't hurt you. Lin Xian did not ask anymore. He knew that everyone had secrets, especially top prodigies like her. For example, he had many secrets that he could not tell others. Yen Ruyu was probably the same. How many laws have you comprehended? Lin Xian asked. 2. The law of ice and the law of lightning. I've received some news. There are many ancient palaces of demon cultivation, but it seems that there are only 9 laws. The 5 elemental laws: wind, lightning, ice, and mist. These 9 laws make up this demon cultivation world. Among them, the most threatening one is Cloud Sky Saint. He is a saint himself. Other than him, there is Yen Nantian. Yen Nantian should have comprehended the most laws. He had 4 types of laws, so 4 colors were displayed. Yen Ruyu's 5 types of laws were 5 colors. They turned their heads and saw that the palace in front of them had a similar color on the wall. It was green. Lin Xian and Yen Ruyu did not have such a color. It's really like that. Lin Xian understood. It seemed that there was a limit to the number of people. Now that the color was displayed, did it mean that they could obtain the qualifications to enter the Green Palace by killing those who had green laws? It should be like that. Yen Ruyu's face was also cold. Next, the 2 of us will have to work together. That's right. I'm relieved to work together with you. Lin Xian nodded. Yen Ruyu also revealed a beautiful smile. They raised their heads and looked into the distance. Indeed, there were also rays of light flickering in the distance. Some had 1, some had 2, some had 3, and the one with the most had 7. There was also one with 6, while the rest had 4 or 5. Who is the one with 7 colors? Is it Yen Nantian or Cloud Sky Saint? Lin Xian did not know. However, he knew that a bloodbath was about to happen. Indeed, the others also noticed this change. Even the people outside of the Devil Cultivation Valley also saw the colorful lights moving around. They knew that there was a change in the Demon Cultivation Valley. Next, there would be a large number of killings. Because at this moment, those who had colors became the target of everyone. I have the laws of metal, fire, wind, and lightning, which are yellow, orange, green, and purple. Yen Ruyu had one more color than him. That was the law of ice. The one closest to them had 3 laws. His body had a blue color, which was a color that they did not have. Therefore, Lin Xian and Yen Ruyu prepared to take action. The 2 of them were very fast as they rushed forward. At the same time, the person with 3 laws in front also seemed to have seen it. He was immediately scared out of his wits. He fled like crazy. He tried to hide the light, but he could not. The laws of heaven and earth made it necessary for the light to exist. Lin Xian and Yen Ruyu caught up to the 3 nomological martialists in an instant. The martialist's face turned extremely ugly. He had white wings on his body and was flying rapidly. However, he was directly covered by a huge hand. He was scared out of his wits. Damn it! The person in front stopped. Lin Xian and Yen Ruyu landed. After seeing the other party, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It was a prodigy of the White Crane race. Moreover, he recognized the other party. The other party was also a genius on the Abyss rankings. However, in front of him it was still nothing. The genius of the White Crane race also saw Lin Xian and Yen Ruyu. At this moment, Lin Xian's face was still covered, so he could not see clearly. However, he recognized Yen Ruyu. His pupils shrank and his face became extremely ugly. It turned out to be Fairy Yen. a powerhouse of the White Crane race. He braced himself and greeted them. Yen Ryu said in a delicate voice. Since he knew, he might as well capture him. Don't kill me. I'm willing to use a law in exchange for my life. As he spoke, he roared and directly grabbed the blue light on his body, forcibly pulling it out of his body. This process was very painful, but the man of the White Crane race still managed to do it quickly. Soon, a blue light danced in the sky like a dragon. It carried a vast aura of the law of water. Laws could actually leave the body. Lin Xian was surprised. It seemed that the laws here were indeed mysterious. However, this should be a protective law. Chapter 33:14. Yen Ryu smiled, seemingly very satisfied with the other party's approach. She turned her head to look at Lin Xian. Go get it. Seeing that Lin Xian still wanted to delay, Yen Ryu said, I don't have such a big target like you, and I don't have anyone to kill. So I can guarantee that I can pass the first round. You are different. If you meet those two people, it will definitely be a life and death battle. Alright. Lin Xian did not stand on ceremony. He directly waved his hand and grabbed the blue law. However, he did not immediately comprehend it. Because that blue law was like a swimming dragon, circling above his palm. It seemed that he had only obtained a qualification. A qualification to comprehend the law. And this prerequisite was that he had to find the hall of the law of water. So that's how it was. Looks like he had to go find the hall. Lin Xian and Yen Ryu soared into the sky. They disappeared into the void. After 2 days, Lin Xian found the hall of the law of water. He went in to comprehend while Yen Ryu waited outside. At the same time, a few people targeted the two of them. Because the light on the two of them was really too eye-catching. At this moment, it was very chaotic. The figures with many colors of light were doing their best to eliminate others. Between each other, there was also a struggle. However, among them, there was a clear distinction. Among them, there were those with 7 and 6 colors. No one dared to provoke them. Wherever the other party passed, others would retreat one after another. As for those with 3, 4, and 5 colors, the struggle was extremely intense. They knew that these were basically people with similar strength and had to be eliminated now. Otherwise, there would be an intense life and death battle in the future. There were even some people who had secretly joined forces. Among them, there were people who charged towards Lin Xian and Yen Ryu. The leader was a woman wearing a red robe embroidered with 2 mysterious patterns. She was a genius of the Vermilion Bird Palace. Her identity was very extraordinary. She was the holy maiden of the Vermilion Bird Palace. At this moment, there were 5 rays of light on her body. It was very eye-catching. Behind her, there were actually 5 people following, 5 powerhouses. The weakest had 3 laws. The strong one was the same as her, with 5 laws. The remaining 3 people all had 4 laws. The 5 of them were very powerful. At this moment, they were actually working together. Inside the valley, the others frantically retreated, not daring to approach. They knew that a huge hunt was about to begin. The people outside the valley also saw this scene. They couldn't see clearly, but they could see the 5 colorful figures quickly surrounding the other 2 people. He wondered who it was that was able to gather 5 experts. I was curious. Who were those 2 people? I'm afraid he's going to suffer. Looking at the glow on his body, he was definitely a top-notch expert. Unfortunately, 2 against 6, there was no chance of winning. At this moment, Lin Xian was comprehending the law of water. Yen Ryu frowned. She naturally saw the 6 figures rushing over. They were here to deal with both of them. She frowned. If she was alone, she could leave calmly, but not now. She wanted to protect Lin Xian. If these people attacked the palace and caused a commotion, Lin Xian would be affected. It was very likely that he would go berserk, which was very dangerous. It seemed like they could only fight. A sharp light appeared in Yen Ryu's eyes, as if he had made some kind of decision. At the same time, 6 figures arrived before him. It's you. When the 6 people appeared, many of them exclaimed. They recognized Yen Ryu at a glance. They didn't expect it to be Yen Ryu here. Then who was the other person? There was no one around. It was obvious that someone had entered the palace to comprehend. Who was with Yenryu? Was it the North Demon? They knew that Yenryu and the North Demon knew each other, and were in the same world. So it was very likely that they had joined forces. The North Demon was very strong, but if the 6 of us joined forces, we wouldn't be afraid of him. A few of them spoke. The Vermilion Bird Holy Maiden, who was the leader, also laughed. Her sister was so beautiful. It wouldn't be good if such a peerless beauty was injured. Hand over the 5 laws on you, and we'll let you live. However, you don't have to care about the one inside. The others were silent. They were all experts, but it was obvious that they were following the Vermilion Bird Holy Maiden. You want the laws on me, and you want my companion? Do you have the right? Yenryu's expression was calm, but his words were filled with disdain. You're courting death. Although you're strong and ranked above Zhao Wuliang, so what? The 6 of us are all top geniuses. It seems that you don't know a few of us. Let me introduce you. The Vermilion Bird Holy Maiden's eyes were cold. Obviously, she wanted to use the names of the people behind her to scare the other party away. I don't need to say anything. The one beside me, Lu Mu, is ranked 9th on the Abyss leaderboard. This Bei Sanxing is ranked 12th on the Abyss leaderboard. I think you should know the 2 of them. As for the other 3, although they weren't on the Abyss leaderboard, they were definitely not weak. This is Ming Wangdong, the top genius of the Nether King clan. This is Sima Su, one of the half-saints of the Sima clan. This is Wu Ying, also a top expert of the Anya clan. If we fight alone, the 6 of us might not be your match. But if the 6 of us join forces, can you block us? How many moves can you block? The Vermilion Bird Holy Maiden said. So, I advise you not to waste your energy. Is that so? If Yan Nantian, Long Batian, Cloud Sky Saint and the others join forces, I might retreat. But you guys? I'm afraid you're not qualified. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the 6 people in front all sank. Indeed, compared to Yan Nantian, Cloud Sky Saint, and the others, they were indeed a lot weaker. If those people were in the first echelon, then they were undoubtedly in the second echelon. It could even be said that they were close to the first echelon. If the 6 of them joined forces, even Yan Nantian wouldn't dare to be careless. No matter how strong Yenryu was, could she be compared to Yan Nantian? Holy Maiden, it seems that this little girl doesn't know what's good for her. In that case, let's directly attack. Bei Sansheng's eyes bloomed with a touch of a biting cold light. Alright, let's see what kind of ability Fairy Yin has. There's no need for all of us to attack, just the 3 of us are enough. Bei Sansheng stood out, and Lu Mu also slashed out. The other one was Ming Wangdong. As soon as the 3 of them appeared, a terrifying power rushed out from their bodies. Bei Sansheng took a step forward, and a powerful aura spread out from his body. The law behind him also danced quickly. He took out a flute and started to play. A sorrowful aura filled the air, filled with despair. This wasn't an ordinary song, but a kind of peerless superpower called the Great Compassion Mantra. Those who didn't have a firm mind after listening to it would immediately commit suicide. The Great Compassion Mantra was very famous. It was said that 3,000 years ago, there was once a person who used the Great Compassion Mantra, causing more than 10 half-saints to commit suicide instantly. This kind of battle record spread across many worlds. Chapter 33:15. Lu Mu also made his move. He held a spear and stabbed it forward. The spear was surrounded by the power of 4 laws. The last one was Ming Wangdong. He waved his hand and countless pieces of ice appeared. A terrifying world of ice instantly shrouded the front. The 3 of them made a move with shocking power. Behind them, the Vermilion Bird Saintess and the other 2 sneered. Perhaps they didn't even need to make a move to get rid of Yenryu. A cold light appeared in Yenryu's eyes. Her hand was extremely white and emitted a dazzling radiance. 5 laws surrounded her fingertips as she slapped forward. The palm technique was light as a feather, but the void was constantly collapsing. This palm had actually blocked the attacks of the 3 of them. Not only that, but it also forced the 3 of them back. How could it be? Lu Mu and the other 2 retreated in shock. Was the opponent so strong? The Vermilion Bird Saintess and the others frowned. It seemed that they had underestimated her. The three of them should also make a move. The two beside them nodded. At this moment, 6 people stood out. The 6 of them attacked together and used their super skills. They were much stronger than before. In their opinion, they could even fight against the Cloud Sky Saint, not to mention Yenryu. Boom. Yenryu didn't use any other techniques. Her white palm emitted an even whiter radiance. The 5 laws on it kept dancing, forming a divine chain of order. It wrapped around her jade-like fingers and slapped forward. An earth-shattering sound was heard. Yenryu was forced back. However, she didn't seem to be injured. How could it be? She wasn't injured. The Vermilion Bird Saintess and the others were shocked. This woman was too strange. Hurry up and attack. The 6 of them rushed forward and fought with Yenryu. 1 against 6. It was definitely a one-sided battle. Yenryu was indeed suppressed and was at a disadvantage. However, she was very strong. Even if she was at a disadvantage, she wasn't seriously injured. Put in more effort and take her down. Someone shouted coldly. The Vermilion Bird Saintess' eyes were filled with malice. She wanted to take this opportunity to kill Yenryu. She was too terrifying. She was a huge threat to her. It was another 6 super skills. Yenryu was forced back again. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. She frowned and wanted to use the thing in her body. A terrifying and mysterious power gushed out from her body. Heaven and earth trembled, and the faces of the Vermilion Bird Saintess and the others changed. Could it be that the other party is going to open some kind of treasure? Thinking of this, their eyes were filled with killing intent. It seemed that they would have to use their secret techniques, or take out their half-saint tools to kill the other party. However, at that moment, an explosion sounded from the palace behind them. Then, a figure walked out. The people inside were coming out. The Vermilion Bird Saintess and the others were stunned. Even Yenryu was stunned. This was much earlier than she had imagined. It wasn't the North Demon. They were stunned. They discovered that the person who walked out in front of them was extremely hazy. They couldn't see clearly at all. Who exactly was it? But clearly it wasn't the North Demon. They knew the Northern Yao, but this person was clearly different. Yenryu wasn't with North Demon. Who was she with? They were curious and puzzled. Yenryu asked, "Why did you come out? Could it be that the battle here alarmed you?" "Don't worry, I can handle 6 people." Lin Xian shook his head. He had finished comprehending, so he came out. He didn't expect to see the battle outside. 6 against 1? Lin Xian's face darkened, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. Although the 6 of them weren't as terrifying as Yen Nantian, they were still a force to be reckoned with if they worked together. Even Long Zhaotian and the others would have a headache if they were to face them alone. With such strength, they could probably fight against a saint for a few moves. "Let's work together," Yenryu said. However, Lin Xian shook his head. "You should rest for a while. Let me handle them." He stood out and didn't intend to work together with Yenryu. It seemed that he wanted to fight the 6 experts alone. What? He wants to fight alone, but he wants to give us a handicap. The 6 people in front of them were stunned. Among them, Bei Sanxing and the others sneered. The Vermilion Bird Saintess sneered. Where did this idiot come from? However, what surprised them was that Yenryu actually retreated, as if he wasn't worried at all. Their hearts skipped a beat. Who is this person? Is he also a terrifying existence? But I don't know such a mysterious person. Come, let me see what you 6 shameless people are capable of. How dare you work together to bully my companions? He took a step forward, and a domineering aura rose from his body. The Vermilion Bird Saintess and the others frowned. This person has such a terrifying aura. He's probably not a simple person. But so what? With the 6 of them working together, no matter how strong he is, they would still dare to fight him. However, Lu Mu's eyelids twitched, and a trace of shock appeared in his eyes. This scene reminded him of someone. "I withdraw from this battle," Lu Mu said. "What?" The Vermilion Bird Saintess and the others were stunned. Bei Sanxing said, "Lu Mu, what are you doing? Are you afraid?" "No, I just don't want to fight anymore. It's meaningless." am going to explore other places. Lu Mu turned and left. The vermilion bird Saintess and the others were stunned. Did Lu Mu recognize him? But who is he? Who can make Lu Mu leave? You want to leave? Did I allow you to leave? Lin Xian snorted. He didn't know if Lu Mu recognized him, but he didn't plan to stop. Lu Mu was stunned. He frowned and said, "It was my fault for attacking you." He pulled out the 4 laws from his body and returned them to Lin Xian and Yin Ruyu. "I don't want to be your enemy." This scene stunned the vermilion bird Saintess and the others. God, what's going on? Lu Mu pulled out 2 laws from his body. Is he begging for mercy? They couldn't believe it. After all, this was Lu Mu. Although he was only ranked 9th on the Abyss list, it was rumored that he fought with Yin Nantian when he fell into the Abyss. At that time, Yin Nantian had just finished the test. He fought with Lu Mu, and both of them were tied. After that, Yin Nantian's strength improved by leaps and bounds, reaching an unbelievable level. However, one could imagine that Lu Mu was also very terrifying. Even if he wasn't as strong as Yin Nantian, he wasn't far off. But now Lu Mu was begging for mercy. He was begging for mercy from a mysterious stranger. Chapter 33:16. They even suspected that it was Yin Nan Lin Xian who took the 4 laws and gave them to Yin Ruyu. However, since you've injured my woman, you'll have to take a hit from me. He struck out with his palm. Boom. Lu Mu was hit and flew back while vomiting blood. His body cracked and disappeared in the air. Yin Ruyu felt warmth in her heart. The vermilion bird Holy Maiden and the others were stunned. However, they were awakened by Lin Xian's cold killing intent. Damn it, let's kill him together. The vermilion bird Saintess' face darkened. Although Lu Mu had left and his actions had shocked them, they did not think that the person in front of them was worthy of their fear. If the 5 of them worked together, they could still take him down. Therefore, the 5 of them attacked crazily. Their auras instantly rose. Hee, let's see what qualifications you have to scare Bei Sanxing away. Sima Se sneered and walked out. His palm was like a heavenly blade. With a boom, he slashed forward. It directly cut through the void. He was also an expert, and he did not think that Lu Mu was weak. Now that Lu Mu had escaped, he felt humiliated. Therefore, he had to quickly deal with the person in front of him. Looking at Sima Su, Lin Xian's expression was cold. A terrifying flame bloomed from his body, and he soared into the sky. In the next moment, he threw out a punch. Boom. The law blade was shattered by a punch. Sima Su was stunned. He did not expect the opponent's body to be so terrifying. Buzz. Lin Xian's big hand grabbed Sima Su and pulled with force. Ah. A miserable cry rang out. CCE's body was actually torn into 2 halves. Since you don't want to beg for mercy, then die. Lin Xian's cold voice rang out. He could let Lu Mu live, but that did not mean that he could let the others go. Sima Se screamed like a madman, causing the people behind to be even more shocked. Not good. This person is terrifying. Quickly, let's work together. The vermilion bird Holy Maiden and the others did not dare to be careless and attacked crazily. Lin Xian was also enraged. He took a step forward and the flames on his body burned fiercely. It turned into a sea of fire and spread out. On his body, there was the image of a flame giant. It raised its head and roared. Flaming sword chi flew out from the giant and slashed forward. In the blink of an eye, the remaining 5 members of the vermilion bird were completely separated. Not good. The 5 people's faces changed. Originally, they planned to attack together, but they didn't expect the other party to be so strong. The sword chi made their hair stand on end. They could only attack crazily, shattering the sword chi first before converging. However, Lin Xian didn't give them a chance. After separating the 5 of them with the sword chi, he made his move. Using Dragon Step, he quickly charged towards Sorrow 3 Lives. This person was previously injured, and his strength was the weakest among the 5. Therefore, Lin Xian had to be dealt with first. In an instant, he appeared in front of Sorrow 3 Lives. Not good. Bei Sansheng's expression changed, and then he became angry. What was the meaning of this? Underestimating him? They had gone too far. Sorrow 3 Lives immediately used the Great Compassion mantra. A strange voice came out of her mouth, and the world was incomparably miserable. It wanted to make people commit suicide. What a strange melody. Lin Xian frowned after hearing it. If one listened to it too much, they would definitely lose their will. Immediately, he shouted coldly, and the great dragon sword soul in his body roared, releasing dragon-shaped sword chi that directly enveloped him. It completely isolated all the great compassion mantra. At the same time, his palm slapped down. Boom! The demonic disc of destruction directly smashed Sorrow 3 lives into pieces. The other party wanted to escape, but his soul was pierced by Lin Xian's sword. With a scream, Sorrow 3 lives' soul was destroyed. Before he died, he finally knew why Lu Mu wanted to escape. The other party was too strong. Damn it, is Sorrow 3 lives dead? The Vermilion Bird Holy Maiden, and the others were horrified. They couldn't sense the other party's aura. What was going on? Winter night. At this moment, Ming Wang Dong roared. He formed a seal with his palms, opened his mouth, and spat out a storm. The terrifying laws of wind danced, freezing everything. The flaming sword chi was frozen, and the monstrous sea of fire was extinguished. In the next moment, they saw Sorrow 3 lives' corpse being torn into pieces. His soul had been destroyed. He was dead. Was he really dead? Their scalps went numb, and they attacked crazily. This time, the 4 of them were very fast. They finally joined forces and launched a terrifying attack. Facing the 4 of them, Lin Xian didn't dodge at all, nor did he retreat. Instead, he took a step forward. His powerful physique crushed the void and cracked the ground. He stretched out his palms, and 2 fire dragons flew out from his palms. Roar! The dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The 2 fire dragons circled incomparably, and knocked away the 4's divine abilities. The 4 of them flew backward and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. Their faces were filled with fear. How was this possible? The other party had injured the 4 of them by himself. Who was this person? What kind of physique was this? Who were you? Who exactly were you? Why do you want to know who I am? Lin Xian formed a seal with his palms, and a formation flew out from his body, enveloping the world. In the next moment, the flames on his face disappeared, revealing his true appearance. Not only that, but the flames on his body also changed. They were no longer fiery red but golden. A golden body appeared in front of everyone. These flames. His face. This aura. This was the successor of the 9 suns. At this moment, the Vermilion Bird Holy Maiden and the others said in their hearts. This was the appearance of the 9 suns' divine body they had seen before. Impossible, the successor of the 9 suns was already dead. How could he appear here? Who exactly were you? Who told you that I was dead? Did you see it with your own eyes? Lin Xian sneered. His body swayed, and he instantly appeared in front of Ming Wang Dong. He slapped out with his golden hand. Ming Wang Dong was scared out of his wits. Ice wings appeared on his back, and ice armor appeared on his body. An ice scepter appeared in his hand. With a wave of the scepter, a huge ice wall formed in front of him. The law of ice danced. It was used to resist Lin Xian's fist. With a loud bang, a violent tremor sounded. Cracks appeared on the ice wall, and then it collapsed. Ming Wang Dong was also sent flying by the huge force, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, at this moment, he used the ice on the ground and in the sky to form a new divine ability. Ice Seal. The space in front of him was completely frozen, forming an ice crystal world. Lin Xian's body was also frozen. Seeing this, Ming Wang Dong's lips curled up into a smile. He didn't care about wiping the blood on his body, and he shouted coldly, "Break!" Crack, 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 crack. Everything in the ice crystal world was shattered. This kind of great divine ability was too terrifying. Everything that was sealed in ice was turned into ashes with this sound. The space around Lin Xian was shattered. His body was also affected by the divine ability, and it shook violently. However, the shaking soon calmed down. Chapter 33:17. How could this be? Ming Wangdong was stunned. How could Lin Fan be unharmed by his superpower? The others were also stunned. They knew about the ice seal's superpower. They had even seen it with their own eyes. Ming Wangdong had frozen 3 half-sages. When the ice seal world was broken, the 3 half-sages were also torn apart. Even their souls were destroyed. But now such a terrifying superpower had lost its effect. Lin Xian's body was burning with flames, melting all the ice. He looked forward and sneered. It's a good superpower, but you're too weak. Let me tell you how to use this superpower. Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul roared and started to use the superpower. Lin Xian stomped his feet. Suddenly, the earth was covered in flames, forming a golden sea of fire. In an instant, the sea of fire enveloped Ming Wangdong. Ming Wangdong screamed crazily. The ice armor on his body released an icy aura, trying to resist. But soon he was burned and turned into snow. He melted on the ground, and was then steamed. Explode. With a cold shout, all the flames in the sea of fire in front of him roared and exploded. That power caused everything to turn into ashes. The effect was similar to the previous ice seal, but the ice had turned into flames. Damn it. Block it for me. Ming Wangdong roared crazily. 3 ice crystals appeared beside him. These 3 ice crystals were extremely white and formed a triangle to protect him. He wanted to resist the power, but in the next moment, the 3 ice crystals exploded under the power of the flames. Ming Wangdong's body was also torn into pieces. His soul was also shattered in an instant. With another move, Ming Wangdong was destroyed. The remaining 3 went crazy. They finally believed that the person in front of them was the successor of the 9 sons. Although they didn't know why he was still alive, he was too terrifying. Run. The vermilion bird saintess screamed and fled. She wanted to announce to the world that the successor of the 9 sons was still alive. This was definitely an earth-shattering news. Want to escape? Stay. Lin Xian snorted. He waved his hand and a black spear appeared. He waved his arm and 3 terrifying black torrents shot forward. Pung pung pung. The vermilion bird saintess and the other 2 stopped in midair. They looked down at their bodies. A black shadow appeared in their hearts. They had been pierced through. They were nailed to death in the void. The great, great spear of destruction. They said these words with great difficulty. Then, they tilted their heads and stopped breathing. That's right, the great spear of destruction. The great demon's great destruction spear fell into the void. For the next 3 years, it was covered by an endless amount of demonic qi. No one dared to approach it. In the end, he was taken away by Lin Xian. This was a vicious weapon that had been stained with the blood of countless saints. Its power was extremely great. Back then, it had posed a huge threat to Lin Xian. If not for the fact that Lin Xian possessed the great dragon sword spirit, it would have been difficult for him to withstand the great destruction spear. The great spear of destruction could even kill a saint. How could the 3 of them block it? It was settled. Behind him, Yin Ryu also walked up. She was also incomparably shocked. She didn't expect that his strength had already reached such a level. Right now, your strength is much stronger than when you were fighting against the great demon. I'm really looking forward to seeing Yin Nanshan's expression when he sees you. He will definitely be shocked. Lin Xian said. However, I'm looking forward to fighting with him. I want to see how strong the successor of a great emperor is. Let's go. Lin Xian obtained the chains of law from these people and flew to the next palace. At the same time, outside the Demon Cultivation Valley, the Vermilion Bird Palace elders' faces changed. In the next moment, they roared at the sky. No. Damn it. Who was it? Who dared to kill the Vermilion Bird Palace Saintess? They roared like crazy. The surrounding people were all stunned. What's going on? Was the Vermilion Bird Saintess killed? Heavens! Who did it? Was it the Cloud Sky Saint? Or Long Zhaotian? They didn't know, but they could see that the 6 figures of law in the valley below had disappeared. It was those 2 people. It shouldn't be. 2 against 6, and they were still completely annihilated. It was too shocking. Wait, one of them had escaped, and the other was still alive. They had to find out who did it. The Vermilion Bird Palace elders roared like crazy. The elders trembled. They had no choice but to enter the valley below. One of them had already started to move. His body flashed, and light filled the sky as he charged down. However, he was quickly pushed back by an aura. Once the demon cultivation valley opened, it would become a world of its own. In less than a month's time, those outside couldn't enter. They would either be killed or thrown out. Other than that, there was no other choice. Damn it, this is too damn it. The Vermilion Bird Palace elders were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. Originally, they wanted to use the demon cultivation valley to restrict others. But now they were the unlucky ones. In the valley, a person quickly threw a shield. Everywhere he passed, countless trees grew, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. He was like a demon, completely blocking the path and space. However, very quickly, a terrifying vibration came from behind. The ground cracked open, and a biting cold saber light shone, cutting all the trees to pieces. The figures behind him were extremely fast. At the same time, a roar sounded. Northern Devil, you can't escape. The person running in front was the Northern Devil. At this moment, his face was gloomy, and his body was surrounded by the law of wood. The surrounding trees all seemed to listen to his orders. He began to attack. However, the people that were chasing after him were simply too valiant. Even he was unable to withstand them. That was because the one chasing him was a man covered in scales, with boundless strength, Long Zhaotian. The other person was covered in white light, like a celestial, Zhao Wuliang. The last one was abnormally ferocious. He had 9 heads, and each of them was extraordinarily mighty. He was a prodigy of the 9-headed lion race. His strength didn't seem to be any weaker than Zhao Wuliang. The other person was riding the waves, revealing a ferocious shark head. Fish scales flickered on his body, and his eyes emitted a biting cold light. He was Black Shark of the Shark King race. 4 top experts surrounded the Northern Devil. If it was a one-on-one fight, the Northern Devil would definitely be able to fight against any one of them. But now 4 against 1, he was simply no match. He could only run for his life. Fortunately, he had the 10,000 devil body, and he was also a wood martial artist. His vitality was strong, and he could control the surrounding plants. Otherwise, he would have been killed many times over. But even so, he was still no match for them. If he couldn't escape, then it was only a matter of time before he was killed. Damn it, he really deserved to die. Chapter 33:18. Indeed, if anyone else was here, they would be shocked. Because they couldn't believe it. Zhao Wuliang and Long Zhaotian, as well as 2 other top experts, would team up. This was beyond everyone's expectations. You can't escape, roaming dragon. Long Zhaotian roared and the dragon blood in his body surged. A dragon shadow rushed out in an instant. This power was too strong. It swept through everything and nothing could stop it. 10,000 wood descends. Feeling the terrifying power behind him, the northern demon flew while using his mystique. A sky-piercing divine tree appeared in the sky and quickly descended, blocking his path. It blocked roaming dragon. There was a loud explosion, but at this time the other 3 attacked. Black Shark brought the seawater forward, forming a whirlpool. Did he want to swallow the sky-piercing divine tree? The 9-headed lion's 9 heads roared. His roar shook heaven and earth, affecting people's souls. The northern demon was affected. His body trembled, and he slowed down. Zhao Wuliang took the chance and slashed out. The flower addict's 33 blade slashes were sharp enough to destroy a sky. Boom, boom, boom. The northern demon spat out blood and flew back. There were many cracks on his body, but his 10,000 demon body healed quickly. He gritted his teeth and flew forward again. However, this was the 5th time he healed. His power and aura had decreased too much. If he couldn't shake these people off, his life would be in danger. I told you, you can't escape. Long Zhaotian's group chased after him. The reason why the 4 of them had joined hands was so that they could sweep through everything. They wanted to eliminate the other people who were a threat to them. 3 days later, the North Demon stopped because he was stopped by someone. Long Zhaotian, Zhao Wuliang, the 9-headed lion and Black Shark surrounded him. Escape? Let's see how you can escape this time. The 4 of them teamed up, and the laws on their bodies intertwined to form a domain that covered the sky. The The northern demon's expression turned ugly. It seemed that he could only fight to the death. He waved his hand, and the laws of wood floated. Countless trees around him grew wildly. A sky-piercing divine tree appeared behind him again. The 10,000 wood flower bloomed. 7 flower formation. The green nocturnal battle armor appeared on the northern demon's body. The heaven-reaching divine tree on his back began to bloom, forming a terrifying flower. Countless flower petals floated around them, forming a terrifying formation that absorbed the power of the 4 people. Humph! Long Zhaotian shouted coldly. Dragon fighting in the wild, a giant dragon phantom appeared on his body. It roared and rushed forward, able to destroy everything. The world's 8 blades. Zhao Wuliang brandished his long saber. The piercingly cold saber light soared into the sky. Lion roar divine skill. The 9-headed Lion King let out a roar. Terrifying divine fire surged forward. Black Shark blended into the void and carried out the assassination. The 7 flowers formation was instantly shattered when the 4 top experts attacked. The heavenly tree behind them also emitted a rumbling sound. Many cracks appeared on the divine tree, but the huge divine flower still hung down, scattering its pollen forward. The pollen was extremely poisonous. Long Zhaotian and the other 3's faces changed as they hurriedly defended themselves. However, the attacks from the 4 of them caused the petals to tremble repeatedly. Many cracks appeared on the northern demon's body. He spat out a mouthful of blood, but he could still hold on. However, at that moment a shadow appeared behind him. A person held a shadow dagger and slashed at his head. With a splurt, blood spurted out. The northern demon was scared out of his wits. He used all his strength to dodge. However, his neck was still cut in half. Just a little bit more and his head would have been sent flying. A large crack appeared on the azure nocturnal armor. The myriad wood divine vine. The northern demon roared angrily, and his myriad demon body began to heal. At the same time he counterattacked. The branches of the myriad demon tree drooped down and turned into 2 divine whips that lashed out behind him. The void was shattered in an instant. Clang! Black Shark raised the shadow dagger in his hand to block, but he was sent flying by a force. However, it seemed that he was not seriously injured. After that attack, Black Shark was slightly injured, and the other 3 were knocked back. However, the northern demon was seriously injured. His head was almost cut off. Seeing that, Zhao Wuliang and the others sneered. The northern demon would definitely die today. They estimated that they would be able to kill him in less than 5 moves. As expected, in the second move, the northern demon was even more seriously injured. A large crack appeared on half of his body, and he was almost cut in half. In the third move, the northern demon was cut in half. He healed again, and his face was even paler. Let's see how many more times you can survive. The 4 of them attacked again. The battle was so terrifying that the surrounding people all fled. At the same time, the 2 figures flew over anxiously. Actually, they had sensed a few powerful forces a long time ago. They quickly flew over with their shields. It was obvious. This was a huge battle. There were several forces involved. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. One of them was very familiar to Lin Xian. He could even see a huge tree flashing in the distance, and its terrifying phantom covered the void. The heavenly tree. That was the northern demon's mystique. What was going on? Was the northern demon being hunted? Let's go and take a look. Yin Ryu also frowned. She and Lin Xian quickly flew forward. When they arrived nearby, Lin Xian used his soul to capture the situation in front of him. His expression immediately changed. It was a siege again. It was very similar to the scene he encountered before. But there was a difference. Previously, the Vermilion Bird Holy Maiden and the others were considered to be on the second level. But now, the ones attacking the northern demon were Long Zhaotian, Zhao Wuliang and the others. They were definitely the top prodigies on the first level. Damn it! Lin Xian was instantly enraged. He realized that the northern demon's situation was very bad. Attack! Lin Xian shouted coldly and sent out a vermilion bird. It rushed down. Yin Ryu stretched out her pure white palm and pressed down. A black hole appeared in the void and kept shattering. Boom! Boom! Below, Long Zhaotian, Zhao Wuliang, and the others sneered. Die. They could see that the northern demon was about to die. They estimated that they could kill him in 2 more moves. But at that moment their expressions changed. 2 terrifying attacks surged towards them. Get lost. The 4 of them turned around and roared crazily. They attacked with their mystiques and collided with the 2 attacks. The sky was torn apart, and violent energy surged. The northern demon retreated. Long Zhaotian and the others were also forced back. Who dares to interfere in our business? Their gazes swept across the area. Soon they saw 2 figures descending from the sky. Yanryu, it's you. Long Zhaotian and the others recognized Yanryu first. But the other person made them frown. They couldn't see his face clearly. 4 against 1. You guys are really shameless. Yanryu snorted coldly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.